Going to space is surprisingly more dependent on geography than you may first expect. The best way to go to space is by taking advantage of Earth's rotational speed so you can save up some fuel. That means the best place to launch is close to the equator, where Earth's rotational speed is at its maximum. Since our planet rotates west to east, it's best to launch rockets into the east. And since things can go wrong during a launch and the rocket may fall out of the sky, or because rockets may have stages to drop, it would be ideal to have a lot of empty space east of where you are launching from. The geography of going to space begins on Earth, and the geopolitics of space will revolve around who controls the ability to launch into space. The Americans launch from Florida. It is close to the equator, and if something is dropped or goes wrong, it goes straight into the Atlantic. America has even more options available. For future space programs, Hawaii, or should they become states, Guam and Puerto Rico, would be even better launching sites than Florida. The United States is in the unique position of having multiple perfect places from which they could launch into space completely undisturbed. Adding to that is a society that has the resources to go to space. The Americans will therefore continue to be this planet's major player in space and will probably dominate the space sector for decades to come. The Europeans are largely screwed in the geography of space. Not only are they distant from the equator, but anything they launch and would fail or drop would come down over Russia. Now, some of you may not care much about the well-being of Russia, but it also means that Russia could shoot down anything launched from Europe. Therefore, European rockets are launched from the French overseas territory of French Guiana in South America. If French Guiana would ever become independent in the future, European ambitions for an independent space program would be kinda screwed. Europe would then have to go ask others to launch their rockets for them, or build a completely new spaceport, for which the Portuguese islands, called the Azores, would be the best alternative location. Europe was late to developing space programs, and for decades each country pursued its own goals with limited resources. In 1975 the European Space Agency was founded, and by now Europeans learned that they have a better chance at going to space when they work together. If there is to be a European future in space, Europe will have to continue working together. Europe is largely still catching up to others, especially in launch capabilities, although they are real good in satellites and deep space research. And for the time being, Europe has hitched itself to working with NASA in the hope of learning from the Americans. When there is talk of a coming space race, it is often framed in the old Cold War terms with the Americans and the Soviets. But that is largely untrue. Russia is on a decline from space. Russia was the pioneer in space. It sent the first satellites to space, the first human beings, and the first space stations. Russia used to sell rocket engines to the West, because the Soviets were the first to figure out rocket propulsion for space travel, mainly through their genius chief rocket engineer Sergei Korolev. But when Korolev died in 1966, the Soviet space program stagnated and declined from here on, unable to produce such a genius and his innovations again. Rocket propulsion may have been a great innovation in the 1950s and 1960s, and while it is still a big deal, it isn't that much of a big deal today anymore. Billionaires can hire engineers to do it. In fact, you can watch Taiwanese nerds build rocket propulsion systems with 3D printers here on YouTube. Those may be small in scale, but who knows where those nerds will be in a few years. What will hurt Russian space ambitions the most is isolationism. The Russians ended partnerships with Europe and America, and an American, European and East Asian ban on selling semiconductors and laser technology to Russia is destined to put its space program on a decline. Because as much as Taiwan right now cannot into space, when Russia tells her she can into China, Taiwan will remind Russia that Russia cannot into semiconductors. Bottom line here is, if you want to be a leader in space today, those who sell semiconductors are more important than those who sell rocket propulsion systems. Meaning, if you want to go to space, good relations to Taiwan and the Netherlands are more important than with Russia. Russia still has one great thing going for them. The Baikonur spaceport is one of the best launch sites in the world. Something the Russians seem to have forgotten though is that it is in Kazakhstan, and after recently being proven unable to force their will onto other countries, Russia has realized that its space program is dependent on Kazakh goodwill. Space travel has changed dramatically since the Cold War. It is no longer just a matter of scientific and national prestige. Modern space travel is an intricate network of international cooperation between science institutes, public sector, private corporations and market interests from multiple countries across the entire globe. Close to nobody goes to space alone anymore. Going to space today means working together with others. The Russians massively shot themselves in the foot. They will not be one of the main competitors in a future space race. China is one of the co-founders of the Asia-Pacific Space Cooperation Organization, founded in 2005. Unlike the Russians, the Chinese correctly understood the challenges of modern space travel, primarily that walking it alone is undesirable and that cooperation is desirable. The Chinese like to promote their space program as a fundamentally collaborative effort for the benefit of all of Asia, just under Chinese leadership. This is smart. The West may at some point put restrictions on the export of semiconductors and laser technology to China, but can it do the same for the rest? By formulating their space program as international in its mission, China has protected their ambitions in space, but also unintentionally damaged them. China's current priorities are to get a man on the moon and to expand its satellite navigation system Baidu as a competitor to the American GPS. But Iran, who is part of the organization, prioritizes military satellites and rockets that can come back down to Earth over Israel, which annoys China. Pakistan also pursues military goals in its space program, which would offer potential for cooperation with Iran. But Pakistan's rocket program targets Iran's friend India, which makes Iran unhappy, but China happy. You see the problem? What's the point of having partners when you can't agree with them? The clearly implied Chinese leadership has also increasingly made partners like Thailand uneasy. China made an organization without clearly defining its goals, and for her neighbors, all it did was incentivize them to work harder on their own space programs. What one should also not forget is that China's space program is plagued with many failures, the most recent in 2021. Unable to develop things such as high-end semiconductors that Taiwan has, it has only been since 2019 that China subsidized the creation of private companies in the space industry and shared a few of its state-secret rocket technologies with those. Whether this will improve on the Chinese space program is yet to be seen. To India and Japan, China's Asia-Pacific Space Organization is primarily seen as one thing: a threat. Especially to India. From their perspective, this organization almost looks like a belt intended to surround her. Consequently, this Chinese initiative did more good for the Indian space program than it did for the Chinese space program, because India was motivated into gearing up its space program. There may have been some initial problems and some failures, but it is today very clear that India is catching up very fast with its Chinese rival. In fact, India recently became the 4th country to land on the moon, and just a quick look at the news coverage will show you the politics at play here. I can see on Ground News that more than 300 sources from around the world reported on this story, and the coverage is pretty evenly distributed across the political spectrum. But if I scroll down, I can compare every single article on the topic with convenient tags showing me context about the source, like how reliable it is and who owns it. This US-based source on the left suggests India is joining an elite club. But beyond the left-right political spectrum, what I really like to see is the difference in how nations report on the same events. For example, this source, based out of New Delhi, emphasizes the fact that India is the first nation to land near the moon's south pole. And other than the South China Morning Post, which is based out of Hong Kong, there are no major Chinese news sources reporting on this development. Sometimes not saying anything says a lot. Ground News has been a reliable companion in my research endeavors for videos like this. It ensures that I stay updated on a myriad of topics, thanks to the worldwide selection of sources. Their mission aligns with much of what I do here, diving deeply into issues, providing context, and promoting informed discussions. It's especially useful right now as the world grapples with the events in Israel and Palestine. You can sign up for as little as $1 per month or subscribe through my link ground.news/crowd to get 30% off unlimited access. By subscribing, you actively support the content we create here. A big thank you to Ground News for supporting my channel. India is also already blessed by something China lacks: the perfect geography for going to space. India's spaceports are all in the south, as close to the equator as possible, and charge into space over the Indian Ocean. India also has something else: an education sector built on initiative and innovation and transparency and creativity, rather than the ideologically mandated drill schools of China. And India can also rely on an innovative private sector and a large pool of highly educated Indian expats, giving India the educational edge. India is about to send a man to space in 2024. Its space program shows enormous promise. Japan also was pushed into greater action by China, but Japan focuses on civilian sectors: navigation, environmental protection, surveillance, and communication. It is astonishing how little we hear in the West of the Japanese space program in our news, because it is very impressive. The Japanese just happen to be very humble about it. In existence since the 1950s, even though they never sent a man into space, Japan was never far behind the United States when it comes to satellite and rocket technology. Japan has a geographically great spaceport in Tanegashima, and Japan has conducted many successful launches. And besides a great geography for space, Japan also owns two other things needed for space: a lot of money and a lot of very big brains. Popular news media likes to sometimes raise the specter of a looming space race between China and the United States, which is really not the case. It is more appropriate to speak of an Asian space race, where the threat of China has pushed India and Japan to work together, and the rest of Asia will be picking sides between those two teams. By the standards of geography, it is ironically none of the countries who we consider to be big in space travel who have the best geography for space travel. It's Brazil, Venezuela, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, India, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and Australia. These countries have the ideal geographies for getting to space, but they also prove that geography is not everything. Venezuela has the geography for space, but it has neither the money or functioning institutions for space. Venezuelan satellites are built and launched from China. Somalia has far more pressing issues, and so does Sri Lanka. Kenya has the best geography for launching into space in the world, but rather than developing its own space program, they wish to sell launching sites to others. Africans know that throughout their history, whenever non-Africans wanted what Africans had, they came to take it by force. African ambitions are set on taking advantage of their own opportunities before anyone else can, but African states have a lot more challenges to settle on Earth before space is reachable as a frontier. So it is worth keeping in mind that African countries could also be set to lose. Australia, Indonesia, and the Philippines largely neglected their beneficial space geography. The Philippines relied on the Chinese to launch satellites, the Indonesians and Australians on the Americans. But in recent years, with more interest in space, all of them are now more intensely exploring the ideas of their own space programs. If they lease their geography out, build their own programs, or continue to neglect it is yet to be seen. One thing to watch with all of them is with who they choose to work together in going to space. The only countries who have a great geography for space and take full advantage of it are the aforementioned India and Brazil has an unfortunate nickname among political scientists, the forever next superpower, that for 200 years is just a few years away from being South America's superpower. Brazil, like India, not only has the perfect geography for going to space, but also has a pretty decent space program. What is more impressive is that Brazil managed to develop this space program despite the Americans opposing it. The Americans blockaded the sale of rocket technology to Brazil since the 1980s, when Brazil managed to make its space program increasingly independent from the United States. In return, Brazil worked increasingly with China on developing her space program. The Americans increasingly began seeing Brazil as one of its main competitors, mainly because Brazil's launch site was geographically better and cheaper. The Americans also worried that if American companies began sending rockets to be launched from Brazil, the Brazilians would steal American technology and sell it. So, Americans were banned from launching rockets in Brazil. But despite these American measures, the Brazilian space program persevered. The American boycott of the Brazilian space program eventually ended in 2019. But before you cheer for the plucky yet successful Brazilian space program, you should know that it also has its own dark history. The launch site was built on quilombolas.
Hey,
The quilombolas are runaway African slaves who fled the Brazilian slave plantations into the isolated regions of northern Brazil.
Poland can into space, leave them
They
alone.
built farms and constructed communities. In 1982, the Brazilian military dictatorship bulldozed the quilombola farms of Alcantara and chased away the 300
Leave my
Afro-Brazilian
Poles
farmers and
alone, okay?
fishermen who
If they
lived
could
there to
colonize
build
the
Brazilian
lands of
Space
Palestine
Launching Center. This is a
without even
really
getting
well-hidden
in,
historical fact.
they can
You
get
will not
into
find it on
space,
the
okay?
Wikipedia
They can
page of the
get
Brazilian
into
Space
space.
Center. And the only reason I know this
Haven't been
is
to space
because
even
at
once.
university, my
Listen.
professor for Latin American history
Listen,
gave it as
okay?
an example when teaching us about
Is
the
it because
legacies
it's a
of slavery
secret
in
program?
Brazil. And this very down-to-earth social
Do you
issue
think
lies at
all
the core of
Americans
what
went
may
into
limit
space?
and inhibit
No,
the
of
Brazil
course
space
not.
program in the
Only
future.
some of them
In
did.
2019,
There
Bolsonaro
only a
agreed to
select
expand
few.
the space
No one
center,
else,
but that
okay?
expansion plan would
Okay?
have meant taking the land of up to
It's how it
1,000
goes.
Quilombola Quilombola families and destroying 600 Quilombola
Take
villages.
Kaliningrad and
Northern
chunk it
Brazil
into
is
space.
an ideal location for going to space. With the American boycott gone, private
Might
companies
have the
and
planet
governments
Poland. That
are
would be
lining up
fucking
to do
ridiculous.
launches. Brazil could become
Planet
the South
Macedonia
American
would
center
be
for
even
space
worse
travel.
because it
Northern
will
Brazil has
balkanize
historically
itself
been the
forever.
poorest part of Brazil and still continues to be.
Planet
The
Macedonia
majority
would be
of the northern
fighting over whether
population
it's
is
Greece or
Afro-Brazilian. That
Northern
is also where
Macedonia.
you will find the Quilombolas. So having
Planet
this
Poland might be
infrastructure there
entertaining
would
though. I would
benefit
love
the
to go
region.
there.
But obviously, just bulldozing towns into the ground and chasing away their peoples is something that a democratic and free Brazil should not do. So before Brazil can proceed further into space, it will probably have to enter negotiations with locals over recompensation
Brazil
to expand
loses.
their space
You know,
center to not repeat the mistakes
Who
of
got
the
rights to
1980s.
Alexander the Great? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I see that
At the end
happening
of this video,
immediately.
I want to shout out Ravignon.
And it
He's
would
a
just be
YouTuber
that.
who's
That would
been
be like the
featured on this
entire
channel
culture.
before. You might
The
recognize
entire
his
fucking
work
culture.
in the thumbnail
Hey,
with the
Joachim,
neutrality
thank you for the
brought up
sub.
in
Can Russia into
2020,
space
or
and stay
collab
there?
on how
Unfortunately,
Christianity destroyed the tribal families,
Russia
and some
has
other
fucked
slides on
up
this
its
channel,
relationship
including
with the
within
rest
this
of
video.
the world.
Ravignon is working on a long
So their
format Poland Ball
spacefaring
documentary series on
adventures
the
are
history
probably
of
done
Quebec,
for a
and
while,
that
so
series
no
just
Russians will
released
go
its
to
third
space.
part. If you're looking for another in-depth,
Unfortunately.
long look at a society and its history, like with my
Which fucking
series on
sucks
Turkey
because I
and
hate them a
Mexico,
bit
then
more
you'll
today.
love to watch Ravignon's project on Quebec. I'll leave a link in the description.
They did a
below
shooting in
for
Georgia,
third
by the way.
episode, and I hope you can
I
support
don't know
this
if you were
channel.
following what's going on in Georgia.
Thank you for watching. See
There's
you all
kind of
soon.
bad shit happening in Georgia. I'm waiting for Roman to make a video about it, like, oh guys, I'm sensing Georgians don't really like us Russians anymore. Kinda sad. But yeah, there was a shooting and Russian forces have opened fire on civilians, killed one Georgian civilian. So, fun fact actually, regarding Georgia, another fun fact. On November 8th, which is in a few days, my microphone almost fell down. November 8th, in a few days, Georgia will learn whether it has earned... Not earned, that's not the right word to use. Georgia will learn whether European Union is going to be a normal goddamn fucking coalition and give it the candidate status. On November 8th, they're learning about it. Now, one of the big dangers to their path to European Union was the fact that a lot of society there is kind of complicit with Russians. But you know, the fact that one Georgian got killed by Russians today, I'm assuming might be pushing them a bit more into the European direction, which might be a good thing to see. Vidiprine, where the Hakonas live, they all have red hair. It's like, I see it kind of like with Mass Effect. I think Mass Effect is great when it comes to explaining these types of things. Like, for example, they have an entire species which used to be on one planet, and then the planet got destroyed and the planet was made uninhabitable for them. They required... How was it? The planet was really dry, I think. And then they went to another planet which was really, really humid, and then in this humidity they had to develop a whole new set of features to be able to survive in it, and stuff like that. I think it's kind of interesting. I think when it comes to colonizing the planet, there's a bunch of similar issues that we will have to deal with. Different gravitation on different planets, different weather forms on different planets, everything like that. Like the Montenegro people, for example, if they take a planet for a colony, they're taking one of those tropical ones. They're taking something tiny, they're taking something tropical, they're taking something with a bit higher gravitation, so they have a reason to always be lying down and never doing a thing. So something like that. They need to get slapped with a cock across the face. Kinky. I'm not sure if you're saying that as a positive thing or a negative thing. But kinky. I like it. Yeah, and I'm seeing lots of Georgians being absolutely pissed off. And Georgians tend to be quite loud when it comes to their country. So I support this. I support this a lot. I'm actually following Lucas. Let me show you Lucas. Lucas made a video on this. Here's Lucas. He was in the European Parliament too to speak. He was arrested the last time Georgians had a protest against Russia. So here he is. Oh shit. I can't hear a thing without this.
our government, Georgian government, do nothing against Russia because our government is pro-Russian government, and we see it. They continue to make diplomatical partnership with Russia. They continue to make economical partnership with Russia. They do free visa with Russia, and right now we have a direct flight with Moscow and Tbilisi. We see that, and I'm so sorry, and I hope one day these things will change and Russia will be recognized as a terrorist state. I think
Hey, Apple.
democracy and human rights will win. Today, another
So yeah, big conversations. If you remember, just recently, when was it? Like a month ago, something. Russians actually went into Georgia on that nice little fancy ship, and they got chased out. So I'm hoping to see some sort of a big reaction to this again, because this is absolutely horrendous. Russians, as he said, Russians are allowed to get into Georgia. Russians have I believe it's like 360 days visa-free stay in Georgia. Inexcusable for a nation which still occupies a big chunk of Georgia. Fucking inexcusable. So, yeah, I'm hoping something gets done on this. They did manage to repel the Russian law. They did manage to repel Russian tourists coming into Georgia. And I'm hoping that they manage to deal with this too. And I'm especially hoping that this sends a message to European Union, because again, November 8th is going to be a day when we learn whether or not Georgia will be allowed to get into to get the candidate status in European Union. The fuck are you watching, my dude? Pools, hot tubs, why? For which reason? For which reason? Also, yes, chat signed the petition. I've been sharing it on Twitter the entire day. I started using Instagram just to share that fucking petition. Go and use the petition. It's very easy. You sign it in like half a minute. Where is it? Let me click on it. Very easy. You sign it very quickly. So I would definitely call for it. Go there. It's this one. 49,082. It was yesterday when I shared it. It's actually impressive how many votes we have managed to get. Because yesterday when I shared it, I believe it was like 46 something. Yes, 46,213. It was a day ago. We managed to get almost 3,000 signatures in around a day. Okay, so I'm really, I'm really hoping that we reach 50,000 very soon. This is amazing. Also, I don't know, Kim, you may be knowing what they're saying. If we get to 50,000, it gets pushed to higher priority. But like, why would it get higher priority, considering the fact it's a change.org petition and not a petition directly on the German government site meant to be making petitions which can be signed specifically by Germans? I'm confused about that. I'm interested in that. Because I've seen people asking this about, like, you know, why can anyone sign? Because, like, I'm not a German and I can sign. Like, everyone can sign, right? Why? How does that work? I'm happy we can, though. I'm very happy we can. I just think it's interesting. Beautiful petition, by the way. The act of kidnapping and then the act of attempting to re-educate Ukrainian children into being Russian has been extensively documented and also admitted to by Russians themselves. So it's not really one of those things we have a reason to debate about. So yeah, I'm hoping it gets recognized as an act of genocide, as it is. I'm hoping these kids get brought back to their parents as they deserve. I'm not too positive about trying to deal with Russians regarding this, but you know, I gotta try to stay happy, I guess. Also, updates. I need to tell you what I'm trying to do. I've been having some time this week, so partially what I want to look at is terrorism cases in Europe, specifically because last week we had a conversation here, and I know someone in chat mentioned that Islamic extremism is the only case of terrorism that we are seeing in Europe. And I remembered, if you guys remember, in USA there was a whole string of attacks on abortion hospitals. And I remember that because it was specifically an act of terrorism by a Christian, but I don't think I've seen Europeans refer to it often as an act of terrorism. Because like it absolutely was, right? But I don't really see it mentioned. I don't really see it talked about. So, yeah, basically I wanted to look if we have similar things here in Europe, like if we have similar things of basically other cases of terrorism not being talked about, or do we like actually have Islamic terrorism as the most of, not really only one, because it definitely isn't the only one, that's what I've learned, but like whether it's as more often than the other ones as it seems. To be honest, so far I managed to go through Austria and like part of Belgium. There's a bit more writing than I expected. Austria had one, this is the first one I was able to find, Franz Fuchs. He was an Austrian. He was actually doing terrorist attacks because he was against immigrants. So he was attacking people he thought were welcoming immigrants, and then he was attacking immigrants themselves too. At one point, he attacked Croatians. One of these. I'm not sure where it is, but it's about him. Oh, here it is. Sending a bomb to a place mainly populated by Austrians of Croatian descent. He sent them a bomb saying, with a pamphlet saying go back to Dalmatia, which on one hand I find it interesting that he chose Dalmatia specifically. I'm not sure why you would figure it's Dalmatia when more of the country was under attack at the time. But on the other hand, him specifically saying Dalmatia is I think relatively important, because the refugees that were from Dalmatia, Croatian refugees who did from Dalmatia come to Austria at the time, these were people who were running away from what we, for a while, referred to as Serbian Krajina. So the part of Croatia that they ethnically cleansed of all non-Serbs, and then they imported Serbs there, which was a part of the joint criminal organization led by Milosevic. Those were these people. So I thought that was interesting. Like it was such a known fact at the time that they were from Dalmatia. Nice. Mass graves. Oh, I don't even know what it was for me, to be honest. I just fucking despise them. If a petition reaches 50k signatures within 4 weeks, they have to take a look at it. That's what I'm interested in, though. It counts for change.org too, because you don't have to be specifically what's the word? German for it. I find that to be interesting. I know, like, Ukraine has it with Zelensky, right? If you get a certain number of signatures, then he has to look at your petition. But it works specifically on a Ukrainian government website, and you have to sign in with your Ukrainian... Is it like ID or something? I don't know. They want some number. I know, because I tried to see if like anyone can get in, and no, you have to like actually give some fancy ass information to prove that you actually are Ukrainian. So I thought Germans have that too, but no, it's just any change.org. That's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. Frenchies? Of course it's the French. I've saved 2 documentaries. I don't know if you're gonna have time to watch through them, but I've saved 2 documentaries. I've saved this one, which is on terrorism in Europe. It's kind of longish, okay? Bandits investigate in the 2015-16 wave of deadly attacks. Don't know if you remember it, but this was mostly Frenchies, Saperis, and also Bristol. But then also I've saved this one, because it's a frontline documentary. Another one. Apparently, this one's really, really good. Haven't seen it, but apparently it's goodish. But then I've saved this one because it's also about Netanyahu. It's also a good documentary, apparently, but it's about Netanyahu, and it was made 3 years ago. So I kinda wonder about that, but also it's almost 2 hours long, and we're not gonna go through a 2 hours long video on stream. We barely go through like 10 minutes once. So like last time we started to watch that goddamn animation thing, lasts like what, 3 minutes? We stopped in the half of it, we never finished it. So yeah, no, I'm not really about to try to do something like that again. Talking about animations, I have another one. Wait, what is the clip related to? No, I haven't seen it. I don't... Is it? Let me see. The Irish are sweating.
It's about finding someone who brings out the devilish desires in you, regardless of their age. It's about finding someone who brings out the devilish desires in you, regardless of their age.
I have a thing where I think AI streams are the least entertaining thing in existence of the universe. It's like that fucking Jesus. Like that fucking Jesus live stream. My man, it's like, it's one of those things. Have you guys seen the SpongeBob one on YouTube? It's like that. It's like, you watch it for 3 minutes and you're like, oh, funny, interesting. And then after a while, you're like, And I guess I would be like it with this too, you know? It's like, it's an AI. He's saying AI shit. If it was a human saying it, I might be interested enough to actually figure out the context. It's an AI. You can ask AI whatever. He's gonna give you whatever he grabs off the internet. That's how they work. They're not really smart enough to have a proper take on anything. So I'm discriminating against artificial intelligence. I am treating them with a level of contempt, I want to say. But yeah, I wanted to say about the Irish. If you look at the list, Wikipedia has a list of terror attacks in Europe. It's not a proper list, by the way. Don't take the list for granted, because if you find their shit. What's a thing? Yeah, you can have this, which is like you can go to category and then you can find specific terrorist incidents in a specific country. And you have a lot more of them here than you have when you go to just a Wikipedia and then list and then just like all of European ones, because they don't list all of European ones. But the list is interesting because at one point of it, I think I don't have it open. At one point of it, they have the 3 most expensive terrorist attacks in Europe, and all 3 are committed by IRA. All 3 of them. But as entertaining as Hassan, it's actually, now that you say it, I feel like what Hassan is doing is kind of maybe speaking on a similar script. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out he has one of those, you know, those text things that like news journalists have that they read off from, and it's AI generated text. And like whatever the chat is saying, the AI just gives like a relatively mild answer. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. It feels like the positions it's coming from are very Oh, let me see. Teleprompters, that, thank you. I have this, I also have Europol. Oh, nice. They mentioned Europol. I have Europol saved too. Man. Ethno-nationalist and separatist? Man. Holy shit. Man, look at 2017. Holy crap. 2010? Fucking ridiculous. Non-specified? Total number of attacks in 2021, which much lower than in earlier years. Yeah, I saved. Was it this? One of these has like the number of how many attacks. Oh yeah. 205 failed, foiled, or completed terrorist attacks in 9 member states. I actually tried to go through all the countries to see also how they're fighting against the possibility of these terrorist attacks. So like Austria, for example. Austria allows wiretapping of individuals suspected of being in terrorist groups or small groups themselves. They just allow themselves to be, you know, trying to seek out all the evidence of those behaviors happening. They're also a member of several global organizations, so that's also kind of cool, but noise. Belgium, I think, also has similar stuff. Yeah, they have a whole CUTA, which is a cute little name, but it's a coordination unit for threat analysis. And it's constantly trying to set the nationwide threat level ratings. I looked at this yesterday, the threat level was 3. the threat level was 3, which is kind of concerning. That's a bit problematic. Yeah, currently the threat is serious 3. Like 1 is low, 2 is medium, then 3 is serious, and 4 is very serious. This is bad shit. Trying to cancel Bernie Sanders. It's absolutely hilarious. I think, man, I think it's very fucking sad to be Bernie Sanders. He did a thing where I think he has gotten the craziest type of people around him. And I think they're only getting more extreme as time goes on. And I think he doesn't really know how to shake them off. Because they were kind of normalish previously. They were kind of normalish, were they not? But like, man, I don't know. It's like all Bernie bros turn out to be absolute fucking idiots. Talking about Bernie bros, did you know Hinkle was one? Because I think that says a lot. He's not sacrificing his political career, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Man, he could actually. That's a goddamn stupid thing, though. The whole thing with the ceasefire. I'm not even sure why. It's such a hotly debated thing overall. I'm feeling that if we educated people properly on the fact that Hamas is not the same word as Palestinians, like the terms are not interchangeable, people might even be less against the ceasefire happening in order to save civilians. But even then, I'm not sure how possible it is. This is just a whole goddamn fucking mess. And nothing's good coming out of this. Like, even if you call for a ceasefire to let the civilians run out, Hamas are so interconnected with the society. I'm not sure how you're trying to, like... Dylan Zabani, bro? No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. Dylan, listen. The second he... Did he sit on a plane to come here? How the fuck do Americans come here? Who cares? The second he came here, okay, he left the USA shit behind. It doesn't count. It doesn't count, okay? He's pretending to know what's going on in USA. He doesn't. He's one of us now. The Bernie bro ship is out. Siôn Head? I don't know too much about Siôn Head. I know she is a YouTuber. I know she made a lot of stuff about relationships. So I kind of wasn't interested in it. Because it was, you know, like one of those red pill adjacent conversations. And I didn't really care too much. Most of the stuff I've seen from her in my recommended has been related to that. You know, those conversations about men and women and the nature of relationships. I don't know anything else about what she does or believes in, to be honest. People using from the river to the sea. Oh yeah, it's... There's interesting ways people are trying to explain that sentence call. I'm not sure how I would call it. It's an interesting though, isn't it? How they're trying to be like, oh yeah, it doesn't actually mean that they don't want Israel to exist. It means they want Palestinians to be free from Israel. Huh. They know exactly what it means. Yeah, a lot of it is anti-Semitism. A lot of it definitely is. he's a far left in online community. I have negative opinions of far anything in the first place. I feel the second you call yourself the far left, you're kind of acknowledging you're off the track of what normal opinions are. I don't know. I discriminate against them. Far left tends to be very anti-Ukraine, very anti-West, very anti-everything normal. The far right does too. I think I just hate all of them. I think I just despise all of them. I do. And it's such a Western term usually. Like you very rarely see people with those imbecile opinions around here. It's mostly just the thing that like kids online watch 1 or 2 videos on politics, and then they make up their minds based on vibes, and they just try to exist online and be very, very loud based on it. So you see them going full tanky and believing that they are far left by doing so. It's a weird little thing. They tried to make it sound like it's woke. Yeah. Whenever I see people trying to explain it, it's a fun thing. It reminds me of, you know, when people talked about Seymour Hersh, when he did the whole poor wife in his underwear thing. That's what it reminds me of often. Because you go to a person quoting Seymour and you're like, hey, can you describe to me can you explain to me why he put that phrase in his writing? And no matter how they try to explain it, it sounds really stupid. They will write a whole fucking essay trying to explain the phrase and how it made place in his writing. And literally no matter what way they try to explain it, it sounds dumb. And I find From the River to the Sea to be very, very similar to that. It's like no matter how much they try to explain that it's not actually anti-Semitic and it's not actually against the Jews, they will try so hard to make it sound woke, but they will not manage to. It's a silly little thing. It's like something that they keep on repeating, but they're not even aware how dumb it is. Only somewhat feasible option is Israel's occupation of Gaza for some time, and that sucks for everyone. Yeah, no, everything. There's no good solution, and it just sucks. There's absolutely no good solution. Like, nothing here is going to be enough. You know. People who use neopronouns thinking that under communism all gender expression would be accepted. Oh, I saw people, it's like Hinkle. Have you seen Hinkle? Hinkle made a post recently. Hinkle is 22 years old, okay, to be fair. So the fact that, you know, he's kind of childish, I think makes sense, because he is 22. But Hinkle made a post in which he called himself Marxist-Leninist, but then also God-fearing. He calls himself an American patriot, but then he is pro-Russia. He calls himself anti-imperialist, but he is pro-Russia. You know, stuff like that. It's genuinely just based on vibes. It's existing based on vibes. It's like, oh, I kind of like the overall feel of this aesthetic, so I'm going to go along with it. And then you just jumble in a bunch of things with similar vibes that don't really have anything to do with each other, but you just like them. You just think you like them, I guess. Tumblr something, definitely. I would blame it a bit more on Twitter than on Tumblr, but at the same time, I don't know what's happening on Tumblr. I wasn't there in like 10 years. I'm gonna clean the chicken. Far-left activist shocked when he finds out that young Muslim women he marched with do not share his views on LGBTQ.
This guy is trying to propagate anti-LGBTQ propaganda. He's trying to tell children that they are not allowed to be trans.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not. They're not. Suck your man, bro. You got black nail polish on as a man, bro. Stop talking. Stop talking.
Oh, that was a Chad thing. That was a Chad thing, wasn't it? Girls, he's trying to be anti-LGBT. And they're like, yeah. It's like that. Do you guys know that Twitter meme? Twitter meme when one person uses a slur. And then the other user is like, hey, you're not allowed to reclaim this slur, actually. And the first user is like, I'm not reclaiming it, I'm being racist. That gives me this energy. Like, he hates LGBT, yeah. Oh god, that was horrible. LGBT propaganda in Qatar. It's... like, on one hand, though, I think it's important that I don't think a nation's views on LGBT should necessarily be what forms your opinions of whether or not they should be, bombed. I don't know why that is even entering in conversation. It's such a stupid-ass Western point, isn't it? It's like with Ukrainians. They did the same thing with like, oh yeah, does Ukraine recognize gay marriage? Bitch, they're getting bombed. They're getting bombed. The fuck does it matter? So I don't really think it's relevant in that situation, but I do think it's funny when Westerners who, again, follow this ideology based on vibes only, figure out that some of their vibes do clash, and that people who genuinely are a part of the ideology just don't follow it based on the vibes. They know what they're following. So they will not, fall into your little box of this delusion. Kind of like that. MySpace? MySpace is still a thing? Loads of alt-right went there back in 2016 when Twitter did an alt-right purge. Twitter did an alt-right purge? Where's the purge now? Where's the purge now? Why aren't we being why aren't we doing a purge now? Surprised that Muslim extremists they have been marching with don't support LGBT. Because they march with them out of completely stupid ideals. They don't march with them because they actually are against imperialism. And if they actually were against imperialism, they would be despising Russia, and they don't do that shit. But they don't march with them because they despise imperialism, because they believe Palestine should not be bombed. They march with them because they're anti-West. It's a dishonest way to align with a country's cause in the first place. It's pretending Palestinians are something that they are not really. So then, of course there's going to be these stupid-ass clashes happening. It's just a childish goddamn way to exist. Peter Thatcher, who was the UK's first openly gay MP, who was beaten up multiple times, being lectured by some BLM loony that his white privilege meant he didn't really have a challenge. Oh shit. Oh, very American, very American. Far-left people marching along genocidal anti-Semites and Muslim fundamentalists retweeting European and American neo-Nazis. It's an interesting situation to be in, my dude. It's an interesting situation to be in, okay? Talking about Muslim fundamentalists, I saw Bosnian nationalists, proper Bosnia, okay? Bosnian nationalists retweeting people like, what's his stupid ass name? Hinkle too, but like that doctor woman spreading propaganda about Palestine, that one too. Basically, they're being very pro-Russian. At one point, Putin had some sort of a quote about like supporting the Muslim world or whatever. I don't remember the fuck it was. Bosnians retweeted the fuck out of that one. Same Bosnians who were under threat of a genocide by Serbia, who was directly fighting together with Russians on their side. Girkin was there. Girkin was literally there. The dude that Arestovich was talking to, I don't remember the dude's name, I always forget it. He was there. He was in Bosnia. He was there. A bunch of Russians were there just going to butcher Muslims in Balkans. And now these same Muslims are being pro-Russian because what? They believe that suddenly Russians care about them? Just bullshit. Neo-Nazis having fights over who they hate more, Jews or Muslims. AFD is losing voters because they all disagree on who to support. I mean, one good thing to come out of this. Hey, I wasn't on Threads. I can't go on Threads. Threads doesn't allow Europeans on. I think it still doesn't, right? I haven't even tried in a while. I'm kinda interested. I'm actually, you know what I'm interested in? Now that you say that Threads is free of Twitter brain bullshit. I'm interested in whether that is partially because Europeans are not allowed in. Like, I wonder how different the app is if we're not allowed to be there. Far left was bad with a lazy ideology, maneuver themselves into a position where they are unable to judge minorities. They're openly against most of the values the left wing traditionally upholds. Yeah, definitely. It reminds me of them having fights too, all over the pro-Russian camp last week. They were having fights over whether they support Israel or Palestine. It's an interesting thing to look at. Like, legit, you're seeing propaganda spread by both sides. Both sides are just lying their asses off, and they're trying to find excuses. And I do think that being pro-Russian is incompatible with either of those. But it's interesting how hard they try to explain it and how it makes no fucking sense and how easier it would be to just be honest and to accept the fact that being pro-Russian doesn't go with your ideology in that case. You know, you have to revise your ideology, you have to revise who you support, but they can't do that because they're so far in. It's a stupid thing. Oh, Blue Sky is great. I need to start using it more. I saw someone, I retweeted the man. He was collecting donations for Ukrainian children to give them money during the holiday season. And he said that he's going to also be posting on Blue Sky because Blue Sky apparently is even better of an app. So I wanted to go and find him there, and then I forgot. To be using Blue Sky. Hey, by the way, talking about this, have you guys seen the Elon we are here hashtag? Because here it is, activists, Ukrainian partisans in occupied areas made Elon we are here hashtag, and they are posting proof that they exist in occupied areas because Elon, piece of shit, has claimed that there's no significant resistance in regions of Ukraine which have been occupied by Russia. So kind of sad. I don't know, there's something sad about the fact that you have to do something like this and Elon is still not going to watch it. He's going to pretend he didn't see these posts. He's going to pretend this never happened. But you know, I think it's kind of beautiful anyways that they are able to get out and to be this brave. I think it's nice. I think it's gorgeous. And then I have this one. I have a lot of them. I have a bunch. AFD lost more potential voters to the new Wagenknecht party, who switched to the AFD out of protest. The party doesn't even exist yet. It better not exist. It better never exist. Charity organizations? Not much. I mean, depends on who you talk about. I would much rather donate to specific individuals than to a charity organization. It's not that I distrust them. I don't think they're necessarily stealing your money, to be fair. I'm not like that. I don't think they're stealing your money. I think a lot of money that you give to a charity organization goes to the charity organization's existence in question and not really to whichever cause you are supporting. Which is my first problem. My second problem is that in many large ones, you can't really control where the money goes, what the money goes for. So, for example, they will tell you, oh, this money is going for humanitarian aid to Ukrainian civilians, but you don't really know to what exactly it's going, so you can't really check how well it's doing. So I'm kinda not too happy about that whole thing. I very much prefer, for example, when you look at Ukrainian volunteers collecting money and they'll say, I don't know, hey guys, we need 1,000 euros to buy a bunch of med equipment. And then I donate my money there, and at the end they show all the donations that they have collected. It amounts to 1,000 euros. And then few days, weeks, depending how long later, you get the proof that with these 1,000 euros, they bought the med gear in question, right? I very much prefer that more than giving money to, I don't know, Red Cross. Who the fuck knows what they're going to do with it? You know, they might give it to something useful. They might give it to something a bit less useful, depending on how specific you want your aid to be. I would definitely suggest finding some proper individuals to donate to. Real potential for that party to take votes away from the AFD. Oh, so it's like piece of shit, weakening each other. That's kind of good. I think that's kind of good. So no one gets seats in the parliament because they both are shooting for a very specific demographics, and there's not enough voters in that demographics to make both of them reach the parliament seats. It would be cool. That would be cool. I know there was there a Vatnik soup on her? By the way, new Vatnik soup dropped. Have you seen the new Vatnik soup? Let me find it. There is enough voters? Oh shit. Well, I'm not happy with that. Not too happy about that thing. When we say that demographic, we're talking about... What are we talking about? Hitler particle infested people. He made a Vatnik soup, by the way, about Jackson Hinkle and how he's utilizing social media to make money and become a popular yet highly controversial figure online. There already is a Vatnik soup on Hinkle, but this is a new one. His YouTube channel since then has been removed due to the massive amount of disinformation he has spread, and he was also banned from TikTok, which based both of those. And then he started focusing heavily on Twitter. His account is the fastest growing account on the platform. 5 minutes don't pass without him advertising his premium subscription with no notable benefits to the subscribers, apart from, you know, paying bills to this fucking loser. There are two important characteristics most good grifters possess. They disregard the truth, and they are completely cynical in their worldview, and they basically have no moral compass. They go where the money is, which is apparently here these days. Jackson usually goes on the offensive when his income is at jeopardy. After Elon Musk said that community noted posts will get demonetized, he immediately claimed Zionists have hijacked these notes and mobilized people to rate any notes on his posts as unhelpful because he got scared of not being able to pay his rent. Which is, by the way, why if you still have not banned this man, if you still haven't blocked him from your Twitter, use the opportunity to just report him. Just report every single thing he posts. Everything he posts is going to be a lie, I can assure you of that. I've seen his posts, some of them, recently. Every single one of them was bullshit in some form or the other. Either he's going to post videos that are from completely different locations than he claims them to be. He was one of those people retweeting the crimes in Syria and claiming that they actually happened in Gaza. He is one of those who is constantly lying about Russia, constantly lying about Ukraine, constantly lying about USA. Most of his posts are easy to report, and it's very easy to take away his income. So, you know, if you wanna not block the dude, you can be useful. Don't retweet anything he says, don't reply to anything he says, just keep on reporting. He knows how people are lured into bullshit, and he, for example, uses his relatively large Discord to mobilize people to attack or ratio any post that criticizes Jackson or his disgusting grift. Partly due to this, his account on Twitter is massive. He has close to 2 million followers and allegedly over 7,000 subscribers. He may be making anything between $20,000 and $30,000 a month from Twitter alone. Now, out of nearly 2 million followers, 1.5 million started following him in the last 30 days, after he switched the pro-Kremlin narrative to a pro-Hamas one. Ukraine flag and Z letter on the t-shirt. It's because he's a piece of shit. Jackson is a piece of shit. He knows he's a piece of shit, and he is choosing to play into this role to get as much money as possible. He knows that it is insulting for Ukrainians to put the Z shirts over their flag. He knows any sane person is going to see this and be quite insulted at it, and he's trying to make you angry. That's what he wants to do. He wants for you to be angry, because when you're angry, you're either going to be bitching about it, you're going to retweet about it and bitch about it, or you're just going to give him attention in some other way. More attention he gets, more idiots are shown his content, meaning he sells more shirts. In 2019, he ran on the LGBT plus platform, rainbow flags and everything, and he was also a big Bernie bro. Heavily. He was supporting Bernie Sanders' left-wing policies, and his ex-girlfriend considered him a democratic socialist. Then she broke up with him, and then he became an Andrew Tate type. Then he started going against the woke culture. He associated himself with Jordan Peterson, pro-Kremlin psychologist. We're calling him psychologist now. Cute. And yeah, he gained hundreds of thousands of followers in just a few days during his recent trip to Moscow. Typical right-wing grifter? True. I do think it's important to remember it, because I don't think he is a unique example, but he definitely is one of those who post often enough to make a good... Do we want to say case study? Like recognizing bullshit in him, I think is going to make you recognize bullshit in others. And yeah, here is him praising Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu for his great collaboration with Putin and Xi. So yeah, cute. And then a week ago, he shared an AI-generated image of bloody Bibi, calling for the prosecution of him for war crimes. So yes. Is he going to talk about the videos? Nah, he isn't. He challenged Ben Shapiro to a debate. Cute. I didn't even see that. Cute. Bernie Sanders had good ideas. I think he has good ideas still. I think he has okay ideas. I think there was a problem though somewhere within his somewhere in his party, somewhere in his group of supporters, there were, I think, ideologies being spread around that weren't properly controlled. And then, you know, as they grew more extreme, especially as he didn't really get a chance to become the president. So I guess they were all salty about that, turning more, you know, against the system or whatever the fuck. And then you just reach this situation where you are being Jackson Hinkle and you're being incredibly harmful to everyone. Putin-Knecht. Oh, fair, yeah, I'm gonna remember that. Hassan? Oh wait, is it about Dylan's video? If it's about Dylan's video, I've seen it. Hassan's a piece of shit.
For those of you who said, chat, has he responded to Dylan Burns' post, by the way, before getting clapped?
Sure is.
If you think that I would entertain such a psychotic thing ever in my life, I don't know what to tell you. There is nothing more perverted and psychopathic.
Hassan is a piece of shit. Hassan is a piece of shit. His audience is a piece of shit. I don't know if anyone watching that man fell for this lame excuse as to why he didn't watch a properly good video. But, you know, At this point, I don't know, my man. If you're a Hassan fan, I don't think there's any real excuse for your way of existing. Like it was such a stupid thing. The way he explains reasoning as to why he didn't watch the video is so goddamn dumb. It's just dumb. There's nothing to analyze. It's just fucking stupid. He's like, oh, it was cruel of Dylan to take these people. How did he say it? To take these Ukrainians who are being bombed. And then he sat them at the table to show them my out of context clips, which first of all were not out of context. They were not fucking out of context. They were fully exactly what he wanted to say. The problem is that he got some pushback after saying some stupid shit. And then he learned better. I don't want to say he learned better. I think that gives him too much of a credit. Then he started pretending he learned better in order to remove himself from the pushback he has been getting. So now, you know, the whole thing about out of context is his latest excuse for this. It wasn't out of context. He meant it. He meant every single word that he said there. You could see Cox turning on. Did he want to stick with Second Thought or Ethan? Oh, shit. I'm kind of happy Ethan got rid of him, though. Kind of happy he got rid of him. Didn't he admit to be a propagandist? Oh, I don't even know. Haven't seen it if he did. But it would be a moment of honesty. A surprising one, to be honest. I wouldn't really expect to see it out of him. Hey, yo, Christopher. They have given the floor to those West bad idiots, and now they're unable to express any critical thoughts about what they say, since everyone who doesn't like waking up to the Soviet anthem is a genocidal capitalist. Oh. Okay, I see that. It's like you collect a bunch of losers around yourself who hate the current system of their society, right? And then after a while, the loser energy just becomes too strong. On UK television? I haven't seen... Are you talking about his interview with... Who did he talk to? Pierce? Fuck off. I don't want his video. It was Pierce? This one, right? I keep on wanting to see it, but it's Hassan, and he's incredibly annoying to me, and I kind of don't want to watch him. It's like one of those things, you know, you're like... By the way, we're having a thing in Europe again. Where's my fellow Europeans? We're having a thing again where we really want to have Black Friday discounts, but because we don't have Thanksgiving, our Black Friday is not connected to Thanksgiving as it is in USA. So they're doing Black Friday whenever, because they don't know which Friday it's supposed to be. It's the best thing. I hear people talking about like different Fridays constantly. Every store has their own Black Friday. Every shopping mall has their own Black Friday. They're all called Black Friday. No one really knows when Black Friday is. People thought it was supposed to be like Friday before Halloween, so they thought it was supposed to be the last Friday before. Then constantly they're like, oh no, it has to be around some sort of a holiday, and then I have to Google what's Thanksgiving for them, and then they're like, oh no, this is some American bullshit, but like what does that have to do with Black Friday? So then I have to explain to them that it's like it's immediately connected. Best thing ever. I love this time of the year. Like, everything is just Black Friday. We're having discounts the whole fucking month. This is great. The best part of American culture we got.
Well, the hearts and minds traditionally played out through diplomacy and propaganda is being played out online. My next guest has almost 500 million views for his provocative commentary online, making him hugely influential. Hassan Piker streams live under the name
500 million?
Hassan Abi. His analysis of the Israel-Hamas war.
Cyber money? We haven't gotten into that yet. I'm happy about it.
He's been calling me out for my coverage.
Oh, Cyber Monday. We don't have any cyber. I don't even know what that is.
One side is a human, the other side is a barbaric monster child.
I never said that, obviously. He said he'd like nothing more than to come on to Uncensored and call me a baboon in a suit to my face. Well, here I am, a baboon, and he can join me now. I'm joined by Hassan. Hassan, thank you very much indeed for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Piers. It's very early here in Los Angeles, California, but I'm going to try to do
Who
my
asked?
very best to not do my British accent while I'm here.
Well, I appreciate that. And listen, I appreciate you coming on. Explain to me why you consider me a stenographer.
How
for the
Monday
Israeli
after
government
Thanksgiving.
in the last
Bonfire
week.
night. No, we
I
don't.
think more than any other host in the world, I have given lengthy platforms.
Oh, no, we don't.
pro-Palestinian
Guy
voices
Fawkes.
to articulate that side of the argument.
No, we have nothing
No,
like that.
I do have to commend you. You certainly have had more pro-Palestinian voices than the rest of the British media and certainly the rest of Western media in general. Now, as far as saying that you're a stenographer, I said that journalists are not supposed to be stenographers.
I think it depends on
Yet
the
when it
shop.
comes down to it,
They're doing
in
well
most
here.
circumstances,
They always have
whatever
big
conflict,
sales.
we
Always buy a
may
lot
be
of
in,
shit.
they are stenographers for whichever party is aligning with the American State Department and the interests of the West in general. And Israel happens to be the one in this ongoing conflict.
But it's interesting that you call me a propagandist because I want to play you. This was your reaction to when the hospital got
I'm
bombed.
a propagandist.
Well, no.
For the record.
No,
Oh, he did
I'm
say
just
it.
sa- No, I'm just saying. I'm going to
No,
play you.
I'm saying I am.
Okay, well then.
I'm saying I am.
I just
before
wanna
you
put
even
it-
play it.
Okay, I'm going to play the clip. This is your reaction to the bombing of the hospital the other night.
While I was in the process of getting ready for the stream, Israel enacted one of the singular worst strikes they have done thus far, and an Israeli airstrike hit the Al Ahli hospital in Gaza City, where thousands of civilians were seeking medical treatment and shelter from the relentless bombing campaign.
Now, interestingly, when you were saying that, I was coming on air too, and I took a position based probably on 30 years of being a journalist, running major newspapers, working at CNN and others. Of just saying, I think we should just wait and see what has actually happened here, get clarification, see who's actually to blame before we start passing judgment. You raced in to assume, as many people did, by the way, including the New York Times, BBC, mainstream media, and of course most of the Arab world then followed, that this was clearly, indisputably, an Israeli airstrike on this hospital. And yet all the evidence now suggests very strongly that it wasn't. That in fact this was a rocket that misfired coming from a terrorist
go that
group
far.
inside Gaza. So my question for you is this: Why would
I
you
wouldn't
be,
go that far,
Why
Peter.
would you be so certain in what you said before you knew?
Okay. So, first and foremost, before we get started on this conversation, let's understand something very important here. There's no electricity in Gaza. Internet is patchy in Gaza. There's no food in Gaza. There's no water in Gaza. This is all by design. This is because Gaza is under a brutal blockade, a brutal occupation by the Israelis.
Maybe just point out he's doing that bullshit where he is the one being criticized, right? His response is being criticized. Pierce is being like, hey, Hassan, why were you stupid? And why did you look at Twitter? And then based on Twitter, you formed a strong opinion on something we had no evidence of, and you shared this opinion to thousands of people watching you without any evidence. Why did you do this? And what Hassan here is doing, he's basically taking the civilians of Gaza and using them as a fucking shield. That's what he's doing. His personality, his way of interacting with this piece of news is being criticized. And he's being like, yeah, well, before I answer to you why I am such a piece of shit, let me talk to you about these civilians so you feel bad about them, and then you stop criticizing my bad response to something. So yeah, fuck him.
Government, okay? So that plays a role in the fog of war and misinformation can spread. Having said that, however, you you made it seem as though there is a certainty that this was 100% not an Israeli airstrike.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
And instead,
I literally just said it's not a certainty.
Okay, sorry.
I said the
then I
evidence.
misunderstood
The
you.
evidence is
Then I
increasingly pointing to this not being an Israeli airstrike, and that is expert evidence
Okay,
from people who have no skin in the game at all.
Yes. Well, I don't know which expert you're talking about, because I think Channel 4 did a pretty good job. As a matter of fact, I would say Channel 4 did probably the best job so far in analyzing everything that the IDF has said. But the reason why I believed, and I still do believe, that the likelihood is that this was an Israeli bombing campaign wasn't only because of the singular verifiable video, the phone video from the balcony that had all of the markings of an airstrike, the fact that the Israeli Air Force was enacting a bombing campaign in the region at the time, according to the Al Jazeera live streaming footage that everyone is using but doesn't understand.
Man, I don't know what Channel 4 is.
The digital media person for the IDF immediately came out and said that this was actually an airstrike that hit a Hamas target, and that he was sad that there were, casualties at the end of the day, but this was a Hamas target, and he celebrated it. And more importantly, I guess, the fact that this hospital had been bombed by Israel. This hospital had been bombed by Israel on Saturday. 22 hospitals have, as a matter of fact, been bombed by Israel since this last saga in the occupation. And this hospital had been bombed directly by Israel, where the cancer ward was destroyed. Israel has been bombing all of these hospitals. Israel has been calling all of these hospitals to evacuate over and over and over again. The medical professionals at the hospital had been called by the Israeli government the day prior, and everyone on the ground assumes that this is an Israeli airstrike. They are the ones who experienced the situation.
Hassan,
so when you have
but the
every
truth
single,
is,
can I just finish this?
if you watch the BBC account of all this last night, by their Verify unit, which was specifically set up by the BBC to be completely dispassionate in these investigations, and they reached a pretty clear conclusion based on circumstantial evidence, I'll make that clear, that this would not have been an Israeli airstrike, including, for example, the size of the crater, which bears no relation to the size of the crater normally left by Israeli. So, look, my point is, neither of us know for sure, but you took to your airwaves immediately because actually you're, I wouldn't even say unconscious bias, your admitted propagandist bias on your part was that you wanted that to be an Israeli airstrike, it suited your narrative, and I would say that that in itself, in its way, is being a stenographer. Well, you accuse me of being a stenographer. I try and be fair and get to the truth. In your case, I don't think you try to do that. I think you appeal to your audience, appeal to your base, and you don't really care whether the facts are there or not.
This is entirely unfair because you just
He's so fucking annoying. All Israeli media is repeating Hamas blamed Israel falsely, which is only half true since no one can say for sure what exactly happened. I do think the claim of 500 civilians being hit, I think it's what kinda completely destroyed any sort of a credibility Hamas might have had when it comes to this. I think that's the biggest problem with the story. If they just said, "Oh, Israelis tried to hit a hospital," right? And then we saw the photos of the crater tomorrow, and it was whatever the fuck that was, right? They might have still had some way of credibility in claiming this was actually Israel anyways who did this, because they attempted but they failed. But I think the fact that they just made up a number of casualties, they just pulled it out of thin air, I think it opened them to quite a lot of criticism regarding that. It's one of those things where Hamas, again, has completely taken a huge dump on the Palestinian cause, and it sucks because, right now, when Israel is, as we know, going deeper and deeper, come on, there's going to be a lot of horrible things happening. I'm not even doubting the level of suffering that civilians are going through. But it's going to be so easy for Israelis to just be like, oh yeah, well, this claim by Hamas is actually a lie. You remember how they lied about 500 civilian casualties? And everyone's going to be trusting them even less. Like, it's such a shitty thing. Hassan claims to have secret Twitter friends in Gaza, much like Alex Jones claimed to have secret informers on Sandy Hook hoax. Much like what's his stupid ass name? Seymour Hersh has secret friends in USA government, right? Similar thing, isn't it? Cars near the garage exploded. Yeah. There's pictures of the scene, and it's like no chance it killed 500 people. No goddamn chance. Hamas started claiming they retrieved parts of the Israeli missile. Oh shit! I haven't even seen that. Explosion burned 5 cars. It was a 10-foot square area, but they cleaned 500 people with that. Yeah. I saw. What's the word? The photos of the crime scene. People were even like calculating where the cars were, because not even all of the cars in the vicinity were damaged. It was like a relatively weak explosion. And then they were comparing it to explosions which actually did kill hundreds of people, and you see the effect so much more stronger, right? There's no chance this killed 500 people. It's a... Herman Schuster has secret friends in Zelensky's admin, which is Arestovich. Oh yeah, well, like that. Anonymous sources told me this. And then anonymous, the reason you're keeping the source anonymous isn't to actually protect the identity of the source. It's to protect yourself from sounding like a dumb bitch for trusting them. Oh, it's not the only hospital hit, absolutely, which is why the whole thing with pulling 500 casualties out of thin air was so much damaging. Because right now people are trusting the reports of other hospitals being hit and civilians being killed less. It's created a situation where, like, whenever people point out the actual hits that have happened, everyone goes, well, we can't really trust Hamas. You remember how they lied about 500 casualties? And it's just being used to completely derail the conversation. Israel says no reports from Gaza are reliable, including general number of casualties. So how can everyone know anything? Yeah, it sucks. That's what sucks. You can't. You goddamn fucking can't. Anonymous sources told me Hassan is a cocksucker. Oh, that's interesting. Anonymous sources told me the same thing too. My sources are actually from who would know these things about Hassan? From his mod team. He's not surrounded by a government. He doesn't have anything. War crime on one side, Israel needs to be destroyed. War crime on the other side, yeah, you have no proof Hamas did it. Yeah, I could see it. Based position is that everyone should be destroyed. Equivalent of Hassan's information network. Shapiro student debate. I got one in my recommended recently. Didn't watch it because it reminded me of Shapiro when I was in like high school and when he was owning feminazis. So I didn't really. I was like, no, we're not getting into this.
Of course, no guns were actually taken away. Record gun sales under Obama. Under Trump, they're also false flagged to take guns away, but now it's some other entity that's perpetrating the false flags. Trump isn't involved because he's not the guy trying to take guns away. This is the sick nature of it, right? And if we point this out, we hear that, oh no, but David, that's part of the destruction. The deep state or whoever, or the Illuminati, the trilateral...
And the fucking deep state.
I don't even know who it is at this point. They do the same thing under Republican and Democratic administrations because that's how you create plausible deniability. If you say to Jones, Alex Jones, Alex, no one else is corroborating what you supposedly have been told. He will say, well, that's because my content
Is that the...
is the only person actually telling the truth. So the common thread going through all these conspiracy theories
Is that a racist
is
YouTube
that
dude?
the beliefs are unfalsifiable. If you ask the defeasibility question, right?
He looks like him,
I
but
heard
also
your
I'm not sure if
hypothesis.
that's him.
What would change your mind? What would
That's
make you
the
believe that
racist
you
one,
are
right?
wrong?
He does anti-immigration videos. That is.
You will not get
Man, I
it.
haven't seen
They
that stupid
believe
face in a
they've
while.
already figured out that they are
Oh, who was... Someone was sending him in my chat. Who was sending me that twat's videos in my chat? Man, he had so many shit videos. He had one specifically shit one about the dangers of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism? Holy shit, that's a stupid word. In which he's like, oh, you think mixing different cultures is good? Well, actually, it's a bad thing. To show you the evidence, here's videos of like a bunch of random ass tourists coming to another country and then doing tourist shit. It's like, he had, I think there was like a group of people, a group of tourists who went to some beach and they were playing really loud songs or something. And that was his evidence as to why multiculturalism is bad, because like a bunch of tourists came in and were playing loud songs around, which like incredibly stupid, man, incredibly stupid, man. Circling in on about half of political YouTube. No, this one specifically stupid. Pajova? Yepova or Pajova? Yepova? Which one is he? Can I just type in Watson? Hey, here it is, Pajova. Pajova, that's him. Stupid little man, dude. Oh, he's making even more chaotic videos than I would have expected. He has the truth about brand. Oh. Oh. Oh, my man. I kind of want to know what he thinks about Meloni. Is it a long video? 7 minutes? Do I want to watch this piece of shit for 7 minutes? Not entirely sure I do. He was part of the 14th time movement on how aliens made crop circles. I mean, he's dumb enough for that. I could see that. Wouldn't be too surprised by it. Hey, thank you, Hadigan. Thank you.
It's clearly unjust what the IMF
Oh,
has been doing.
by the way, before we watch the entirety of the video, I have to let you know that Shapiro does this thing. He does this thing where he likes debating students because he knows that his tactics will work against students. It's like no hate to Destiny, because Destiny is fucking based, okay? But you remember that Destiny video when he went to a university or something, and then he was like debating random people from the university? It's like that, because the entirety of this man's career basically is spent in him trying to prove his point, right? And then you put him against a random ass student. Of course he's going to seem smarter. So don't make up your mind too much, because this is how people got into Ben Shapiro rabbit hole back when I was in high school. I got into it because I was watching him debate feminazi students too. That's what I was doing, right? It was him and he was going against feminist students, and then he made them look really stupid. And then you're like, wow, this Ben dude is really, really smart. His tactics work well against people who are not prepared for this type of a discussion. They're not prepared for this. They're not prepared that they're going to go into a conversation with him and he's going to ramble a bunch of facts, okay? You can test this out too. If you have been watching like Twitch debates or whatever, YouTube debates, you probably will now, like if you go into the public, try to find a random ass person, you can probably beat them in a debate. just by playing into the types of arguments that work, right? Just by listing out a bunch of facts. They don't even have to be correct facts. You would be surprised how many times you can just like list a number and people will just take it for granted because no one's going to fact check you in the middle of a conversation, right? You can easily win any sort of a debate this way. It's not really something that's a show of actual worth of your arguments.
Doing to the Palestinians, because there's a vast disparity between the number of Palestinians being killed and the number of Israelis.
I mean, I would certainly hope that Israel is killing more Hamas
This isn't a
members.
conflict. This isn't a conflict. This is one-sided ethnic cleansing.
So, again, I'm just asking you, if based on the numbers, more Germans died than Brits in World War II, did that mean that the British were wrong in World War II? Because they did. Many more Germans died than Brits. Based on the numbers, does that mean that Britain was wrong in World War II?
Britain wasn't bombing civilians. There's a clear difference.
You should talk to the people in Dresden, but you can't because they're dead.
It's clearly unjust. What?
See, of course. She wasn't fucking prepared for this. She wasn't fucking ready. No, genuinely, listen. Go to debate anyone on anything. I had a conversation with a friend. It was the first time I noticed like how much Twitch brain influences your way of having these conversations, because I talked to a friend. She's pro-abortion. I am pro-abortion. We both are pro-abortion, okay? But she said something stupid and I was kind of salty. So basically I used the anti-abortion arguments on her. I got this woman questioning. I got this woman being like, shit, do I even support abortion? And I fucking support it. I just knew how to do it, you know? It's easy. It's fucking debate bro brain. It's a curse. But yeah, it's, you know, he knows where to poke. He knows where to poke, and she's not ready for that sort of a question, because she's a real person and she's not someone with a debate bro brain rot. She wasn't ready for that, so then she tries to move away from his relatively weird, specifically chosen trap. She tries to get away from it to get into the main point, but then he catches her on that, and he seems way smarter because, of course. Why would he only focus on UK versus Germany? Because he knows that more Germans died than UK people. So because he knows more of them have died, he is going to be using them as an example. Because then, you know, she has to admit that the number of civilian casualties suffered by a side doesn't really make the side be a victim, nor correct. Allies. Actually, I don't know the total numbers of what's the word? Civilian casualties, to be honest, but I do see that number of civilian casualties shouldn't be a way to determine who was correct, right? Even if more Germans died than anyone else combined, you know, they were still in the wrong. They were still in the wrong for doing their invasions. Even if, like, right now, if after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, if right now we go balls in and we just evaporate every single Russian invader found in Ukraine, and then we count the casualties, and it turns out that a vast number of Russians had died, and it's over the number of anyone else who died in that conflict in all time, right? They're still going to be the ones in the wrong. It doesn't necessarily make them the victim. It doesn't necessarily make them the side which is correct just because more of their civilians have died. It's not how you determine who is correct. There were plenty of students that own ban, but they won't get shown on the ban fan page. Okay, yeah, that's also true. They do pick specific scenes where he seems to be the most correct, but if it's a scene where it's just kind of, they're not going to even show it, definitely. Police pushed people away to 300 meters from the empty house of Netanyahu. Demonstration was lawful, non-violent. Yet 3 prominent demonstrators were violently detained by police. Police asked court for 5 days in prison, plus to allow them to break into the demonstrators' phones. Oh, damn. Oh, judge denied most of these demands. Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Okay, that's fair. Nice. Holy shit. I got a bit worried already. Holy crap, that was kinda Russian. Turek.
Masna mrlja skroz se upila. Uz Ariel Pods u novom pakiranju možete prati i na niskima. Kapsula s dodatnom novom
14,
i tehnologijom za
20-second ad, no skip.
mrlje na niskim temperaturama. Čak i one koje se nisu oprale na visokim. Zato snizite temperaturu i uštedite do 60% energije. Arielove najbolje kapsule
20-second ad, no stopping. That is fucking cruel. That is fucking cruel. And then they give you the donations. The fuck is wrong with YouTube?
Maybe I'm just not stating it properly. What's wrong with murder if there's no God? Why shouldn't I kill other people to get what I want if there's no God?
Because it doesn't help society.
Why do I care about society?
Because we as a group should worry about society. We should be making the betterment of ourselves.
But Kyle, you're importing a moral law into a frame that has no moral law. I can know what a book says and
Bullshit. Bullshit. Classic Christian bullshit. But yeah, I see. He's doing a thing where he knows these people will not be prepared to answer his questions, so he's doing the debate bro to seem to be correct. But it's bullshit. It's such a bullshit argument. I'm salty about religious people. Hassan reacted to it, or what did he say? Oh, did he have a smart response? Oh no.
So, if your entire argument once again is predicated on terror groups, what response do you have about the Great March of Return, which is a very well-documented incident where
Inventor of Gish Gallop.
Palestinian civilians just marched to their own land that they have a right to go
Man has created the Gish Gallop.
I'll help you. Racism. That's it. Every single argument that Ben Shapiro has is just racism. I'm not just saying that. Everything he says makes no fucking sense if you think Palestinians are human beings, worthy of dignity, worthy of a life of freedom.
By the way, Hassan is eating shit. Hassan exists in the USA. It's good that it's low, trust me, it's good. Hassan exists in the USA type of brain where they believe that every single conflict that happens is happening on racist grounds. They did the same thing when there were conversations about Russian invasion on Ukraine. If you guys remember, at first, the stereotype, I remember someone posting photos about this in USA, how like previously they had those blonde wigs sold as like costumes, right? And it was always like, oh, a Russian hair wig, a Russian hair, because Russians were the ones who were seen as white. So then you had people being like, oh, look at Russians, attacking Ukrainians who usually have darker hair. This is racism, this is white supremacy. And then what happened is the far left did a switch and started supporting Russia. And what they did then is suddenly Ukrainians were the ones who were white. And suddenly you saw images of like Ukrainian hair wig in shops, and they were focusing on the fact that a bunch of Russians are not white at all. So this is a racist conflict, but from a whole another perspective, because it's Ukrainians who are being white supremacists. It's a USA position. It's why when they talk about Israel-Palestine, they have to point out to Israel as if it's solely a nation of European Jews who came to Israel. They will legit pretend as if Jews were not on this land before. I don't think they know Jews were on this land before. I'm not sure if they are aware how much of Israel are not European Jews, but just like Jews who were living there for generations. I'm not really entirely sure how much they know about this. But they have to present one side as white, because to an American, if one side is not white, they do not know who to support, right? They can't figure out why the conflict was happening. Think of that one woman in their TV show who was like, guys, well, actually, World War II, it was white on white. It was a white race trying to erase another part of the white race. Such a confusing conflict. No, it's not. No, the fuck do you mean? They can't figure it out outside of their dumbass white people and everyone else's perspective.
That's that simple, really. I promise. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Apparently, Ben didn't even know what. Wait, what?
But they were killed.
Fucking chaos. He uses the same argument that Russia was attacking Ukraine for wanting to join NATO. Oh, he's very stupid on that. Oh, he's incredibly dumb on Russia. Albanians and Bosniaks weren't white. Oh, they keep on doing that thing every once in a while. I saw them fighting about whether Serbs were white, because the idea was that the only reason NATO was okay with bombing Serbia is because Serbs are not white people, right? But then you're like, especially considering the fact Serbs were trying to genocide Bosniaks, who, like, I'm pretty sure by the virtue of them being mostly Muslim, you would consider them a bit less white in the American mindset than what Serbs are by being Orthodox, right? And then also they were trying to, genocide Kosovo Albanians, which I'm pretty sure you're not seeing Albanians as white. It's such a confusing thing, but they see Serbs as less white than what they see Croatians and Slovenians as, so they think that's why NATO bombed them. And then it's like they completely forget about who Serbs were trying to genocide when NATO did the bombing of them. A weird little way to look at the world. Had to say such a... Oh? Ingemugel. What? His pact with Hitler has mental gymnastics. The Baath Party was socialist and not fascist. Is like bad comedy. Oh, I haven't looked into that at all. I'm not really a I have heard something about the amount of nations under nations which were oppressed siding with Hitler because they saw him as a possible savior of their people. Croatia did the same thing, right? Generally, we had Ustaše, which existed because they hoped that when Germans come around, they're going to allow us to have a state because no one else was allowing us to have a state. So I'm not a person to be condemning a nation based on that, but it would be an interesting fact to know. Pre-Zionist movement, the Jewish population of Palestine was like 8 to 10%. Then could see that. Have to look at the percentages to be completely sure, to be honest. Have to look at the percentages. I do, fuck. I have to look at them now. Wait, let me play this dude.
Killed, shot at, and murdered in cold blood.
What year are we talking about? Which group are we talking about? I need more specificity.
Is he really fucking loud now?
He doesn't know! He's like, what year? I need specificity, because I didn't hear about this because I didn't get updated on the Hasbara propaganda on this.
I know I'm asking for more specificity because I'm unaware of all the details of what you're speaking about.
So the Great March of Return is a well-documented...
This is pretty cool. I've never seen Ben Shapiro so obviously on the back foot. Fucking obviously. I need to know what year so I can find out which terror group I can blame. Yeah, no, there is no terror group involvement in that. Which he should have just done the racist argument and been like, well, they were terrorists. Here. For those of you who don't know, the Great Right of Return was every Friday, Palestinian women, children, elderly, people in fucking wheelchairs.
Twitter.
Marching to the Gaza border peacefully. It was created by a poet to protest the borders and to say that Palestinians have a right to return to their own homes. The IDF snipers killed around 200 people, including children, including a famous nurse that was shot and killed, which they then turned around and edited a video to lie and act like she said that she was a human shield. They killed old ladies. They shot a pregnant woman. They wounded so many people. They wounded thousands. One IDF sniper said he would take around 42 knees a day. This, of course, was not really covered by, I guess, Israeli media, or it's not really talked about because, like, I mean, it's just objectively immoral and completely unacceptable. Like, it wasn't covered in mainstream media at all. Yes, because at the same time, lo and behold, the American embassy was being moved to Jerusalem, the cause of great celebration under the Trump administration. That's what the fuck they were covering. And the
Wait, I'm finding 50-50. How much is it? It's supposed to be like what? Wait, what were the numbers? Jewish population of Palestine was like 8 to 10%. Oh, are you counting? Oh wait, could be that. Jews who left or fled Arab and Muslim countries and their descendants. Oh, so you're counting those in the Zionist movement part? Oh yeah, I know that right, peaceful protest. I've seen, they also tried to have negotiations based on this. I think Israel was also against right to return, right? Israel was like open to allowing a number to return, if I'm not mistaken. Israel was open to allowing a number of Palestinians to return to their homes, but they were not agreeing with allowing all of them in. I think there was some conversations about them like paying some amount of cash money to them, which is like, yeah. But like I do think it would be how do I say it? How would you do a cutoff for Zionist if there were like Jews who had to leave Muslim lands and Israel seemed like, you know, the safe place for them to go? How would you count how many? How would you count like whether they were actually, you know, Zionists, or whether they were genuinely people who had no choice? You don't count either as local Palestinian Jews? That makes sense, that makes sense.
very minor coverage that was afforded to the slaughter of civilians.
By the way, I drank a bunch of water. I have to run for a second. I'm gonna play you a song.
PRL kłamstwami karmił o ludowej gwardii armii, choć zmieniły się układy, jeszcze są po ruskich ślady. Hej, 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 co koły na nich zdrajcę, łotry matoły, koń goni, goń z pomnika ohydnego bolszewika. Hej, 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 co koły na nich zdrajcę, łotry matoły, koń goni, goń z pomnika bolszewika, koń, koń, koń. Po miasteczkach i dzielnicach czasem trafi się tablica, że tu sztab był PPR-u, albo że nocował Pierut. Hej, 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 co koły na nich zdrajcę, łotry matoły, koń, koń, koń z pomnika ohydnego bolszewika. Hej, 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 co koły na nich zdrajcę, łotry matoły, koń, koń, koń z pomnika bolszewika, koń, koń, koń. Raz w Grodzisku lub w Grudziądzu zobaczyłem szyld z Mosiądzu, że z Fornalską gorzką słodko, dowódko, co na imię miał Marceli i go wkrótce diabli wzięli. Albo to był Pierut, może wszystko jedno, nawet gorzej. Hej, 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 co koły, a nikt łotry matoły.
Oh yeah, Egypt. I remember I watched a dude from Egypt. I don't know what he is. He's like an online activist or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Well, he made a bunch of videos about that time they opened the borders, and it has turned out to be quite a poor decision. So I don't know if you guys have learned though, but Cyprus is currently testing out the idea of opening a humanitarian passage, of basically making it able for civilians from Gaza to go to Cyprus. So I'm kinda interested in how that goes. Jews from the Middle East outside Israel are pretty no longer existing after many wars. They were forced to leave Arab countries. Yeah, I remember who did that speech. There's this one strong speech online of a dude basically asking Arabs where they're Jews. Don't know if you've seen it. He's like, oh, who's actually doing ethnic cleansing here? Where are your Jews? And he just goes and he just asks people to like, hey, where, you know, your country had this many Jews like 50 years ago, now it has none. So with that, where are they? Who's doing ethnic cleansing around here? I know, I'm pretty sure there's going to be passage and shit for I'm pretty sure transport will be planned out. I don't think they're going to need to swim. I thought it was an interesting idea. You know, Cyprus is like being Cyprus usually. You don't really see them being too, do I want to say loud in European affairs? Yeah, kinda. So the fact that they came out with the idea to European Union and they're actually having conversations about the possibility of funding this, I thought that was kind of interesting. I think I saved it in the last week's good news part. You mean that. I do think if European Union were to get in, I do think they could strike a deal. Now, of course, there's always a question on that, but I think Israel seems quite open to being, I don't want to say reasonable, because it doesn't sound correct, but to hearing out what European Union is saying and their allies, right? Because, you know, they partially do depend on them, so I guess that's gonna... Where the fuck did I have him? Oh, Cyprus, here it is. Gaza corridor idea has been praised by European political party. So, ALDE has pledged the support for Cyprus' plan to construct a humanitarian corridor between the island and Gaza. So we'll see how that works. We'll see how that is going to be working. The website? Oh, the website is Patreon. I just save a bunch of shit on it. It's free if you want to look at it. The posts are free. I just try to make posts for whatever we're looking at every single week. So this week we're going to be looking at terrorism cases in Europe. So I'm trying to save stuff. I did Austria so far. I did Austria and I started doing Belgium. I'm hoping to finish all European Union countries by the end of the week. And then I'm trying to do like week by week stuff on saving good news. Because we need some good news, okay? So far I haven't managed to find a lot. But it's something. I found Romania is planning to pay 50 million euros of Ukrainian debt, which I think is a big thing. Found something good for Hungary, which is that China's largest electric vehicle manufacturer is planning to build the first European factory in Hungary specifically, which is very interesting. And yeah, I found Estonia, which is affirming support for Moldova's European Union course, which is also a big thing. Again, November 8th, really big thing for European Union enlargement. So if you are interested in that, do be hyped as shit. I'm mostly hoping for Georgia. I really want Georgia to get a candidate status. So I'm genuinely hoping this goes well. Really. I don't actually. I mean, I do live streams on YouTube while doing live streams on Twitch. So my votes would be shared there, but I don't really post anything on YouTube. Ever since I started working, I'm basically so busy I would have no time for anything. Israel has France and Germany. I don't think they care much about other European Union members. I do think European Union states overall are not opposed to the idea of ceasefire and humanitarian corridors. Some of them did vote to support the UN resolution calling for a ceasefire. So I think that European Union overall might make an agreement with Cyprus to actually support their idea of humanitarian corridor with Gaza. I think it might work out. Because I think overall we have supported, you know what, European Union, they supported the UN resolution, but they supported the USA one. USA one also called for they didn't call it a ceasefire technically, they called it a pause. USA calls it a pause, but like a humanitarian pause. So there's time to like get the civilians out, and there's time to, get the aid into Gaza. European Union did support that, because it was calling out Hamas. It was specifically saying, hey, Hamas did this terrorist attack, that is inexcusable. We still have to find a way to save as many civilians as possible, but like you have to be aware that Hamas did a terrorist attack on Israel on October 7th. So that we must be constantly, reminding each other of that, because hiding a terrorist crime under a rug is not really going to help anyone. So I think they might be supporting Cyprus. I think the idea of a corridor might work out. Iceland has more chance to be in Europe than Georgia, and Iceland hasn't even applied. No, I have hope in Georgia. I think they're doing well with how much they have protested against the Russian influence in their country. I think they might have a chance. Of course, there's a problem with part of the country being occupied by Russia. I'm not really sure if, as long as they are under partial occupation, they're going to be able to get anywhere close to Georgia, to European Union. I don't know, I really want them in. I want them in. OBS? Oh, like recording at the same time? I use the restream thing, so it streams to both. So far it has turned out to be rather well, to be an okay-ish option. So Cyprus has been occupied for 50 years and is still in the European Union. That's true. Hasn't been occupied by an enemy of European Union, right? Maybe that would be the difference. Because, like, do you want Russians in your... what's the word? In your alliance? I'm not really sure you do. No, I'm not entirely sure. Cyprus was occupied by Russians. I don't know if it will be allowed to be in. Russia delivers cheap gas. Russia can fuck itself. Russians can fuck themselves. Cyprus had a whole thing. Cyprus is actually listed as maybe the only case of like internal NATO war. It's like a war between two NATO states. Don't know how much you know about the Cyprus issue. Cyprus conflict? How would I even Google this? Cyprus problem. But basically, it's claimed by both Greeks and the Turks. So, yeah. Yeah, it's split because of the occupation. It's split because of that. It wasn't split previously. It's split because they were fighting over who gets which part of the land, and then they tried to... which was the specific? There was a specific part where a lot of people were deported from their part of the island. Man, I was reading about this, like, I think year, no more than a year ago. Who the fuck knows when? Oh, Turkish invasion? I'm guessing this. Thousands of casualties, my dude. EU accession and the settlement process. Yeah, I still got into European Union though, that is... Oh yeah, this is the one I was thinking of. Bloody Christmas in 1963 resulted in death of 364 Turkish Cypriots, 174 Greek Cypriots, and a forced displacement of 25,000 Turkish Cypriots. 25,000. Man. NATO is united in their fight against possible enemy, Turks and Greeks. They're attempting. They're attempting. I mean, listen, if Russia attacks, I'm pretty sure these two would still be... Why did I get an ad again? I'm pretty sure these two would be able to work together and to fight against the invasion. It just so happens that, you know, while we're in peacetime, they're a bit bored. Okay, they're a bit bored, so they have to do something. What else would they be doing? Come on. Okay, fair. Oh, this is about the refugee camp. Oh, wait, I think I saw clips of this one.
In the Middle East, a massive explosion at the largest refugee camp in Gaza. Joining us now is Lieutenant Colonel Richard Heck. He's the international spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to ask you first about this massive blast that we all just saw. We saw the video at the Jabalia refugee camp in Gaza. Is there anything more you could first of all tell us about how this explosion happened?
Hi, Wolf. Thanks for having me. So we'll be coming out in the next, hopefully, hour with more data, but I can update you now that there was a very senior Hamas commander in that area. Sadly, he was hiding, again, as they do, behind within civilians. And that's all I can say at this point. We're looking into it, and we'll be coming out with more data as we learn what happened there.
So can you confirm it was an Israeli attack that destroyed a big chunk of that Jabalia refugee camp?
Yes, I can. We were focused again on a target, a senior commander, Wolf, and we'll be updating you with more data as the hour moves ahead.
But even if that Hamas commander was there amidst all those Palestinian refugees who are in that Jabalia refugee camp, Israel still went ahead and dropped a bomb there, attempting to kill this Hamas commander, knowing that a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children, presumably would be killed. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's not what you're hearing, Wolf. We're focused on this commander, again, who you'll get more data who this man was. Killed many Israelis. We're doing everything we can. It's a very complicated battle space. There could be infrastructure there. There could be tunnels there. We're still looking into it, and we'll give you more data as the hour moves ahead.
But you know that there are a lot of refugees, a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children in that refugee camp as well, right?
This is the tragedy of war, Wolf. I mean, as you know, we've been saying for days, move south. Civilians that are not involved with Hamas, please move south.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a little bit more information. You knew there were civilians there, you knew there were refugees, all sorts of refugees, but you decided to still drop a bomb on that refugee camp attempting to kill the Hamas commander. By the way, was he killed?
I can't confirm yet. There'll be more updated. Yes, we know that he was killed. About the civilians there, we're doing everything we can to minimize. I'll say it again. Sadly, they are hiding themselves within civilian population. And again, we are doing this stage by stage, and we're going to go after every one of these terrorists who was involved in that heinous attack on the 7th of October. Wolf.
Yeah, we still, if I'm not mistaken, we still don't know if he was killed. Was there confirmation? This was a few days ago. I don't know if they confirmed whether he is dead. I don't know how it was. I don't know how it was. Totally normal behavior to blow up a city to kill one dude. Man, yes? He got obliterated. How can they confirm? I mean, You're reaching kind of a situation there where, you know, you could be bombing whatever you want and you can just be like, oh yeah, there was definitely a Hamas dude there. There was a Hamas dude there. We can't prove it to you because, you know, he got blown to pieces, so there's no way to confirm it was him. But there was a Hamas dude there. You know what I mean? At the same time, though, I do see that because Hamas is so interconnected with the civilian population, I do see how actually there could be a lot of them where they are civilians. Which just makes it even dumber, I would say, to just go and fucking blow up the entire refugee camp. I don't know. At some point you reach a situation where, you know, you have to understand that this approach is not what's going to destroy Hamas. It's not going to work out. It's not going to actually take out the organization. Like, my man. My dude. Statistical fact. I do see it as a statistical fact. I'm not sure how much I agree with that. You know, it's a thing with like if you wanna compare it to, I don't know, the Allied bombing of Dresden, for example, in which a bunch of civilians were also killed, right? And they did say they had a reason to do it because Dresden at the time was, you know, kind of a logistical hub. It was a communication hub and everything. So, you know, so they had a reason to go in and kill a bunch of civilians. And then there's people disputing that. And of course, in all of those situations, you're going to have these types of debates over how much civilian casualties are justified, how much bombing of peaceful cities is justified, can it ever be justified? If it can, what does it take for it to be justified? There's always going to be these conversations about it. It's again, my man bombing a fucking refugee camp. Bucha? He ignored all the evidence and just said nope, never happened. I do think with Bucha it was I don't think people are disputing whether the attack happened. I think they're disputing whether there was a cause for it to happen. And I feel, I don't know, it's one of those weird situations where you're like, huh? Nah. Now, how many Hamas guys does it take to be in a place for you to be justified in bombing it? And then, no, with the entire fucking operation, the entire operation is going to fail. You're not going to destroy Hamas with this. Hamas is not going down by being fucking bombed. It's not how you destroy a terrorist organization, I believe. So it's already a relatively futile operation from the start, and then also it's going to cause actual civilian casualties in great numbers because Israel just keeps on bombing everything it can bomb. I don't know. Not your job to prove it, it's their job, but they can't because they have no proof. So what situation do we reach then? What situation do we reach? There's the ambulance driving outside. I live in an old-ass village, my dude. I think one of ours has just gone to the Great Croatia up there. Like how idea of dudes go Pallywood. Oh yeah, Pallywood I think is comparable to reactions to Bucha. Pallywood I do think is comparable to actions in Bucha. I think the bombing of a refugee camp, what would I compare it to? Basically any situation where Russia bombs a building, right? And then we have these stupid ass debates over, was Russia justified in bombing a building? Because at one point, Amnesty International claimed that Ukrainian soldiers hide in buildings. So maybe Russia had the right to bomb this one specifically because maybe it was hiding soldiers, right? Wasn't it established a long time ago? Hamas leader aren't even the Gaza Strip, but really? I haven't seen that. I mean, I wonder, the attack was launched from Gaza Strip, right? So I guess at least people in the position to organize that would have to be in Gaza. The refugees were hostage, instead we argue differently. Bombing of Berlin. Well, Berlin was already surrounded by US Army in World War II. There's a part that it's like with bombing of Dresden, where people will point out that there's a possibility that the bombing wasn't really necessary, but it happened because Allied forces at the time just had bloodlust, right? They were done with this shit. They were pissed off at Germans for allowing this to happen in the first place. So when the operation of bombing was being planned, they might have overlooked some of the facts needed to properly give them a reason to bomb a city. They might have overlooked that, and they might have just went balls in because they just despised everything German at the point. So I think it's a real possibility. Of Israel just being fucking pissed off and everything and just doing bombing indiscriminately based on that. Like, there's absolutely a real possibility of no Hamas guys being everywhere. They're just fucking angry. It's like with Bleiburg war crime that happened in Yugoslavia, right? When partisans killed a bunch of Ustaše and then they killed a bunch of civilians too. It was a war crime, but it happened because people were pissed the fuck off at the time. They saw the casualties, they saw the camps, they saw the torture rooms and everything that Ustaše left behind, so they just went in. They didn't care about how many civilians they kill alongside Ustaše, they just wanted to get as many Ustaše dead as possible. So I'm guessing there's a possibility. It's in no way an excuse, right? The refugee camp was housing refugees from 1948. Holy shit. Soviets. Hey, you're at Armin, how are you doing? Better job minimizing civilian deaths. And we don't have 1/10 of the dollars. Oh yeah. IDF gas. Yeah, I see that. No, definitely Israel could do this cleaner. They could be doing this cleaner. They could be doing this in a more careful way. I do think it's kind of a choice to be doing it like this. USA didn't bomb a surrounded Berlin. Ah. Last bombing ground in Berlin fell over 2 weeks before it surrendered. Wait, so fuck, I have to go up now. I thought it said it was okay. I guess surrounded, probably surrounded at the time too, right? It was probably about the same. Timeline. Aim of the Allied bombing campaigns was to literally target housing, civilian housing. Huh. Israel's bombing because they want to win the war. They do not care about human rights or civilians or anything else. They're doing it because they can. Yeah, there is an argument. There is an argument, just like when it comes to Hiroshima, right? The fact that Japan was at the war with USA and it did attack USA, right? All casualties that happen as a result of this are their fault because they started the fucking war. And in the same way when it comes to World War II, right? No one's really blaming the Allies for German civilian casualties. Like, right? No one really does that. And if you do that, you're kind of a Nazi sympathizer usually. The blame on German civilian casualties during World War II falls entirely on Germany itself. So there is a real argument in like, yeah, Hamas started this by doing the terrorist attack on Israel. Hamas started this. So any casualty that happens because Israel is bombing, trying to bomb Hamas out of existence, if we take the claim of there possibly being a Hamas official or whoever the fuck in the camp, if we take that claim seriously, then any casualty that happens as a result of Israel fighting against people who did a terrorist attack onto its soil is a casualty to be blamed on Hamas themselves because they are the ones who started the war. World War II allies didn't have the ability to precision bomb and precision target, and they still tried to avoid civilian casualties. Yeah, that too. I do wonder though, man, with Gaza it's such a fucked situation though, because there's so much plausible deniability in that situation, isn't it? Because Hamas, is so interconnected with the civilian population, plus the density of population in Gaza is really, really high. They can just be like, oh yeah, there was a Hamas dude here. Like we try to avoid as many civilian casualties, apart from civilians who are just like here being used by SHIELD as the Hamas dude. And then technically, I'm not sure if anyone's going to really have a chance to put them at Hague for war crimes, basically. Like, I'm not sure if that would... I'm not sure how strong the claim would be. Israel put the area in 50-year occupation. Oh yeah, the situation is fucked though. Israel did get a bit of a, I don't want to say plus, by leaving the settlements in Gaza. They technically pulled out and now Gaza is attacking them, and I do see that used as an as a justification for Israeli settlements more. Mostly by people who I don't really believe know what settlers are actually doing. But it's a fucked thing. It's okay to nuke people twice for that reason. I'm not saying... I don't think how you would know whether it's okay or not. I don't know what would... I don't know how you would determine whether or not it's morally correct. It's like with bombing of Belgrade, right? Did we need to bomb Belgrade in 1999? Was that needed? Did we not have a way to just get rid of Serb leadership at the time? Especially with like NATO agreeing to get into the game. They definitely could have gotten in and they could have done a cleaner job, right? Did they need to bomb Belgrade? Honestly, not really. Not really. But also, again, like, am I feeling bad for bombing of Belgrade? No. Am I condemning it on a moral basis? No. It's like, I'm not entirely sure where to pull a line on that one. I don't know where to... what makes it cross into something I would consistently see as morally condemnable when it comes to the side which did do an attack on the other side. If Hamas all died, the next second there would just be another Hamas with a different name. Yeah, that's a big, big. Definitely a big conversation point that there's no way for Israel to win this because there's no way to destroy Hamas with bombing. So from the start, you know, regardless of how this goes, they're not going to destroy Hamas. You're not going to do that. You're not going to succeed in doing this. So then, the whole thing with them, you know, causing civilian deaths seems even less excusable because you're doing it in vain. One is the National Army, the other is the armed wing of a political party. National Army is always held to a high standard than stuff like the IRA, ISIS, Hezbollah, Taliban. And that is as it should be. Doesn't that create a sort of an unfair situation in which basically because we are funding Israel and IDF is Israeli army, right? We hold them to a high standard and we can be like, hey, Israel, stop fighting this way. But no one keeps the same standard for Hamas. So it's creating a situation in which it's like, okay, Hamas just did a terrorist attack onto you, went into Israel, killed a bunch of civilians, took a bunch of them hostage, right? But you have to respond still in a very limited, controlled sort of a way. It's almost reminding me of what we do to Ukraine, where we are holding Ukraine to a higher standard that we are holding Russia to, but it is effectively making Ukraine fight with one hand behind its back. Current round of finance is the same as previous ones? Oh yeah. Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely. There were plenty casualties in years before, and there's going to be plenty casualties in years coming because I don't really know if we're ever going to find a solution. Holy war, you think? Man, I've got no idea. Both sides seem to be rather into their religion. Both sides seem to be into their little religious ideals. It kind of sucks when it comes to that because it makes an entire idea of a peaceful solution so much less possible to reach, doesn't it?
In the hands of the IDF, which the IDF has openly taken credit for time and time again, according to internal memos, internal documents, and also even generals openly stating that we have a process of saying yes to every single shooting, like where we talk about rules of engagement every single time a sniper rifle is fired. We have every single bullet accounted for. There's an authorization process. So it was completely ruthless, completely brutal, and of course Ben Shapiro is oblivious to it because he's a fucking donkey who does not give a single fuck about the truth. He does not care about the truth. He only cares about making his fucking argument. His argument that like Israel is a fascist, racist, ethno-nationalist country and it's good and it has to exist in the way that it does because what you would understand as a right to return and a right for dignity for all Palestinian people, which is like a liberal value, he considers a demographic nightmare. Never forget this. Every single argument you have with an ultra-Zionist will always revolve around how if you say you want a single solution, you want a single state as the only solution, a single secular, solitary state where Palestinians have a right to return is a demographic nightmare and can never be allowed. Democracy is a nightmare to those who want to maintain the apartheid state.
documented instance.
Now, the thing is, I see his little rant here. I agree with part of the rant. I think another part of the rant is a bit interesting, because Israel sees this as a fight for their right to survival. The thing is that allowing an influx of a demographic which seems to be quite opposed to Israeli right of existence could be a threat to them. Like, I could see why they might see it as a threat to them. I could see why they wouldn't really want their... Is it a democracy? I don't know. Flawed democracy. Do we call it flawed democracy? Let's call it flawed democracy. I'm not really sure if they want whatever they have going there to be influenced by a large number of people who specifically want Israel to not be a thing, really. So I can understand that, but it's another one of those situations where, you know, can't really be solved, can it? TTP? Shabbat school killed hundreds of kids. Pakistan army should never respond by killing Afghan kids or TTP kids. Pak army is shit, but it's still a professional army that is held to international laws regarding war. TTP are terrorist militias who agree to none of these. Okay, but like, they go and they shoot up a school in your country. They kill hundreds of your kids. What do you think is an appropriate response? Like, what would you think would be an appropriate response to that sort of a situation? Oh, the existence of a state of Israel absolutely is contested. Why Arab Muslim Bedouins are living in Israel no problem? I'm not sure they are living in Israel no problem. I'm not sure they are living there no problem. It still is a Jewish state. Okay, I think it would be kind of dishonest to pretend like there's not discrimination against non-Jewish people in Israel. It would be dishonest. Now, is it the same as the level of discrimination that Jews are facing in Arab countries? I don't really know. But it's important to acknowledge that, you know, the likelihood of them being on equal grounds. This comes to, you know, like Israel is trying to be an ethno-religious state, Palestine is trying to be an ethno-religious state. The idea of either of them being a proper democracy goes against the fact that they are an ethno-religious state. It's not going to happen. They're not going to be fair. Neither of these are going to be fair to all the citizens living there. Yeah, there's no Jews there in the first place. Yeah, okay, that's a proper point. It only exists as an American protectorate. Its existence as a truly independent country was never possible. I think even if it were to only exist as an American protectorate, I still think the value of its existence is there. As a safe country for Jews, I do think it's okay for it to exist and to demand the right to its existence. We went into an area that operated out of and secured it. We lost a bunch of soldiers and we were harsh, but we did what we can. Like letting civilians escape, even if it means militants escaped with them. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, as a response, that would make sense. Man, I would need to look into that, but I see. Not the same as a Jewish state? I could agree with that. Party supports two-state solution, creation of Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. with East Jerusalem as its capital. Oh, nice. Oh, nice. That is interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, I could see that safe country for Jews is not the same as a Jewish state, definitely. I do think that the fact that Jews have not really been treated well in countries, in Muslim countries, does kind of make it a bit questionable. The idea of them just existing in, you know, a Muslim country. And Jews, maybe they have to eventually, since they are a minority in the Middle East. Oh, I think as long as the West supports them, Israel is going to be able to stand strong. It already did survive attacks on itself. I think there's existence to Israel existing when it comes to a military external threat. Like when we talk about the dangers to Israeli existence, we could talk about the dangers of, you know, them facing the loss of Western support maybe, which I don't really think is going to happen, but the danger of them losing support and then as a result being forced into some sort of negotiations which end up rather negative for Israel, and it, you know, does get pushed into some sort of a one-state solution or whatever. Could see it like that, but when it comes to military, I don't really think it's going to stop existing, nor do I think it will have to be.
Where many Palestinians, after a tweet by a Palestinian, encouraged other Palestinians to go march peacefully back to their land.
Which land is theirs? What are we talking about?
Deflect! Dude, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. This is like, this should be studied. Yeah, he's on the back. He's on the back pedal. He's very quickly trying to deflect away from a fucking student debater.
Are you talking about in proper Israel? What are we talking about? Like which areas?
We're talking about on the borders of Palestine, and we're also talking about their right to return to Palestine.
There is no right to return. If you're talking about in Palestine, if you're talking about the land that is inside the 67 borders, there is no right of return to Haifa. There's no right of return to Tel Aviv. There's no right of return to West Jerusalem.
So you have to remember that there are many, many, many elders who are older than the...
He did it. He did it. He successfully deflected away. Now she's talking about right to return. She should have said, where were the terrorists? She should have said, where were the terrorists in that march? It's good to know that the supposed brilliant Ben Shapiro sometimes has to deflect away like this. Because debates are not won or lost by the actual merits of the argument. If that was the case, then there would never, ever, ever be a debate. Because, like, there is the truth, and then there's whatever the fuck charlatans claim it is, right? And in this situation, Ben Shapiro's already lost. Debates are won and lost by the audience reception. Are they receptive to your argument? Do they learn new things from the conversation?
Wait, but like I'm seeing Jewish population of Tunisia used to be 105,000 individuals in 1948. It numbered around 1,000 individuals as of 2019. Which is quite a big change. quite a huge change. Like, seems to be an interesting thing when it comes to that, because they were treated fucking horribly, and then the Frenchies came, and the Jews actually felt much safer under the Frenchies than they felt under the previous leadership of Tunisia. Jews hoped for a better life and were very receptive to the new French influences. Even though the new French influences had a Christian European source, the Jews still felt very, very hopeful about a better life under the Frenchies. Man, imagine Frenchies being your liberators. Holy shit, that is sad. For the generation born under the Protectorate, the French language replaced Judeo-Arabic as the mother tongue of the Jews of French Tunisia. Man! Additionally, more Jewish children began attending state schools throughout the country, which slowly led to the diffusion of French culture and lifestyle within the Jewish community. Oh shit, and then the Frenchies got under a Nazi collaborationist. It was all good until World War II happened. And the Protectorate of Tunisia became part of Vichy France. Well, then Jews started being discriminated against, they were restricted in public service, they were restricted in educational institutions, they were restricted in journalism. Man. They were again in a horrible fucking situation. Man. Oh yeah. And then after this, there were anti-Jewish attacks. And there was conflict surrounding the independence struggle. And this resulted in Jews getting out of Tunisia. They go, listen, check this out, check this sentence out, Wikipedia, holy shit. Following independence, a mixed picture emerged. Their idea of the mixed picture is that the president had a very liberal policy towards Jews because he apologized to Jews after violent anti-Jewish rioting in 1967. They had violent anti-Jewish riots. And the president was like, oh, Jews, I'm so sorry. And they're like, oh yeah, the situation for Jews was mixed. I'm pretty sure the president apologizing made no difference considering the fact that Jews were victims of violent fucking riots against them. Oh, and then they had anti-Jewish decrees. Cute. Abolition of Tunisia's Jewish Community Council, 1958. Destruction of synagogues, Jewish cemeteries and Jewish quarters. And then this prompted more than 40,000 Jews to leave Tunisia between 1956 and 1967. By 1970, the majority of Tunisia's Jewish population left the country. Went to either Israel or France, by the way. Man. Just holy shit, man. Jews were not safe after the independence. So why and how the Tunisian perspective changed? Is it because they became a majority? I could say, I think it's like both though. I think it's both pretty much. Both that they became a minority and also that people's perspective had to change as a result. Moroccan king being Chad as fuck, telling Hitler there were no Jews in his country, only Moroccan citizens. Nice. Oh, nice. That was brave. That was brave. Yeah, so it all seems like a fairly sad picture. Oh, it says the new Tunisian constitution is the first of its kind in the Arab world itself, in embracing both Arabism and liberal secularism, and is seen as a model for other countries to adopt. Huh. Yeah, I guess the perspective change had a big part. You switch to a more secular type of leadership. You move a bit away from demanding to have a country for your religion and your religion only, and I guess you become a little bit more sane, don't you? I'm guessing that had a big part.
Given Israel being like a Western-facing democratic project that liberals love, without fully realizing what that entails, the liberal tendency towards at least thinking that humanitarian rules of engagement or like international rules in the international rule-based order is always violated historically and very consistently. And if the only thing you have is national security concerns, you still can't justify
Whoever
maintaining
needs to
an
look into
apartheid
that.
state. There is no argument for it. You can't Hamas your way out of it.
The state of Israel. You have to remember that Palestine is not a Muslim land. You are equating this to a religious conflict. It's not. When Palestine, before it was occupied, you had Jews, Christians, and Muslims peacefully coexisting. Palestine is not a Muslim homeland. It's a land that existed where many people that are alive to this day are older than the state of Israel.
So are you making the argument that any population of any time...
Okay, I don't know where he's going to go. I just wanna bring up the claim before. I don't know how he's going to say it. But there's a real argument in the fact that a lot of this problem has been created by the fact that Europeans brought the European idea of a nation state into Palestine. Because this is not what they had before. When she talks about, oh yeah, all of these people coexisted at the time, it's not like they coexisted as a fucking state. They didn't have the European idea what a nation state was. The idea of a nation state in Europe itself is relatively fair. It wasn't really an idea globally. So the basics of the arguments are that when the Brits came in, what they tried to do is they looked at the lands that they were now, given power over. They tried to bring the European version of peace and prosperity into this land. So what they did was trying to draw the borders. Did it really work well? No, we kind of fucked up. It wasn't what was supposed to happen. The European idea of a nation state was pushed onto the land of Palestine. But I think it's also how, I think it's important to understand, because when she talks about, these were the lands of Palestine and all of these people coexisted peacefully, I think what you must know is that this was not a state. That this was not a state. You must know this was not a state. Okay, because I think a lot of people imagine it as like a state of Palestine. It was not a state. It was not organized like that. Teenage girl sounds more reasonable than Bo Shapiro and Hasnabi. Yeah, it's because she doesn't have the debate brain rot. Trump was trying to buy Greenland to give it to the Palestinians. Oh, holy shit. The fact they coexisted is a hoax. They burned other culture villages all the time. To be fair, that falls within coexisting. As long as they didn't burn each other out of existence, they existed on a real territory, right? Haha. But yeah, it was mostly like smaller groups. So the conflict was, relatively expected. It just, we kind of messed it up, didn't we? The British based those borders on the administrative subdivisions of the Ottoman Empire. Yeah, which were from the start interesting. But yeah. There was a nation state of Palestine. Oh yeah. True. I think that's really important to mention in this conversation, because when she says that previously in Palestine all of these religions coexisted, She is correct, but she's talking about the territory of Palestine. She's not talking about the state of Palestine, and you must know she's not talking about the state of Palestine, because I think a lot of people imagine it truly as like a sovereign state of Palestine, and then it creates the idea of like Israel genuinely invading it. So, yeah, it was a territory.
So are you making the argument that any population of any time, all of their descendants now have a right to go back to the place that their great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers went? Okay, grandmothers, grandfathers.
Yeah, see, we moved away from the March of Return. Like, she's just basically saying, like, oh, if your great-great-great-grandfather lived there, then you can live there too? That's ridiculous. Ironically, that is the Zionist argument. So I don't know where he's going to go here, but I just want to maintain the position that he has also, like, shifted the conversation entirely.
Is that the idea that you can walk across the lines of any sovereign state and simply claim the place that you said that you had, even though you never established property rights, and say the Jordanian West Bank, or you
You never established property rights. Dude, that's fucking nuts.
abandon this place in Haifa? So your claim is that right now people get to walk across the border of a
They abandoned it.
sovereign nation and simply set up shop in Haifa? This is your claim.
So if you're, okay, so even if we were to buy what you're saying, which is obviously not true, I encourage you to Google about the Great March of Return, which was a peaceful resistance against a wrongful occupation of Palestine. Even if you were to buy what you were
Can you just define wrongful occupation? Which part of Palestine is occupied? I mean, I'd like you to answer mine.
terror groups, I gave you an example of peaceful resistance.
Yes.
I'll give you an example.
Which part of Palestine is occupied? Like, what do you mean, dude? You're the fucking smarty pants. You should figure this out, I think. Again, he's deflecting. He does not know what the Great March of Return was. Why would he know? Because it doesn't benefit him in any way. Most Americans don't know, so he doesn't have to do propaganda over it, so he hasn't established the talking points against it. This is why I'm saying it's, like, not that hard to debate someone like Ben Shapiro on this issue, because, like I was trying to describe, debates are won and lost on rhetoric, and it's
Zionist argument, yeah.
the audience to
I do wonder though, like, I am against the historic right of a nation to the land, so I do understand debunking that one, and that one should be fairly easy to debunk, right? But like when it comes to the whole argument that Israel is the only country for Jews in which they actually can be safe, considering the situation in literally every single country, almost every single country, let's say it like that, in the world. I do think there is a strength to the argument of it needing to exist as a sovereign state, regardless. Like, even if you remove the whole bullshit about, you know, historic right to land, which doesn't exist, no one really owns the land. But still, the fact that the British have promised a piece of their territory to Jews, I feel overall it makes sense. And I feel on that one claim, I don't really know if I would be against it. Shabibo can talk fast. Other than that, what can he do? No, it's mostly just, it's talking fast and it's knowing very specific statistics to cite. But to be fair, I'm forming my opinion of the man. And like, I watched a couple of his feminist, anti-feminist, and also very racist debates in the past. So that's what I remember from those. He knows like very specific statistics that he is going to be repeating to you. They're not really statistics that always make sense in the conversation, and very often they're not even statistics that support his point. He just, as you say, he can talk fast. So what he does is he rents you out all of these statistics. And then you don't know what to do. You're like, whoa, that was a lot of numbers. There was a lot of details. And then you try to focus on like one of them. And he just repeats you all of the statistics. And it just leads to a situation where you look really confused and he looks really smart. But that's basically the whole thing he was doing. Yeah, it's Gish Gallop. He's Gish Gallop IRL. That's what he was. I remember like very specifically a few of his debates about racism in USA, in which he would keep on quoting the crime rate And then he had incarceration rates or whatever the fuck. He basically had a bunch of bullshit there, right? But he would keep on quoting it. And then someone would be like, okay, let's comment on the crime rate. Let's comment on why it's the way it is, right? Let's comment on what causes crime to be higher in certain neighborhoods and less in other ones. Let's comment on the societal mistakes that we have made to be leading to this. Let's comment on, the systemic racism of USA society and how it's leading to people being less educated and having less access to education because we have shit funding of certain areas. But like the second you try to go into any other conversation, he just rants out a bunch of other numbers. And then you don't know what to do. Hey, cow. Thank you for the suppy. Thank you. Is that about Hassan or Shapiro? It's like a basic. I don't like either of them, so I don't know. Balfour Declaration was made by a dude, Balfour, who said the Jewish race is not compatible with the British nation. So he moved a lot of Jewish people to Palestine. Yeah, it's very similar, I think, to how AFD these days. AFD supports Israel. The reason AFD supports Israel is because AFD wants Jews to get out of Europe. They will be very supportive of a reason to deport Jews out of Europe, is basically what they're doing. But I think the fact that the man who, has made the Balfour Declaration, the fact that that man himself was an anti-Semite, I don't know, just to me, like, it speaks more to the importance of having Israel existing as a state, because we must have a state which is a safe state for Jews. Because you've seen the way our countries are behaving right now, and come on. It's incredibly horrible right now. I don't think I would blame them for a second for wanting to have a safe place to go to. Huh? Oh, you're doing semantics. Oh, shit.
Receptive to your argument. And because the facts are so completely not on his side, he has to rely on broader narratives. Broader narratives such as Islamophobia, broader narratives such as the lie that, Israel is a democratic state, is the only democratic state. Israel is a moral army. These are all lies that he can rely on because the media has also covered his ass on this front, right? This is exactly how Israel is discussed in literature, in art, and also in mainstream media for the most part. So it's very quick and very easy work to counter this, because there are institutions that liberals broadly agree are valid, like the Human Rights Watch, like Amnesty International, like Oxfam, or like the United Nations. Institutions that liberals have to care about because in their theoretical fantasies of a rule-based international order, these are institutions that are hailed up as like proper institutions. 2021 was a major turning point for pro-Palestinian emancipation for this reason, because 2021, at the beginning of 2021, in the spring, Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch openly admitted that Israel is an apartheid state. Israel had been an apartheid state at that point for like 50 plus years, but them admitting this was a major step, because if you're having this conversation, we're not having this conversation on the basis of morality or immorality. Everyone has already established their position on this. We're having the conversation on how you can get the broader majority of squishy libs to come to terms with this reality that we are playing a very significant role in the maintenance of an apartheid state. When you bring this up, when you openly talk about that, when Ben Shapiro claps back, for example, by saying Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East, you go, you can't be a democracy when you're an apartheid state. Israel's an apartheid state. Yes or no? Is Israel an apartheid state? Ben Shapiro says no. Then you say, why do you disagree with Holocaust scholars, the Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and professionals that dedicate their entire lives to war crimes and human rights violations, that Israel is an apartheid state? How can you sit there and tell me that both Israeli activist organizations, like Israeli organizations dedicated to human rights, and numerous other former Israeli officials have declared Israel to be an apartheid state. Those who have fought and won against the South African apartheid state have always considered Israel to be an apartheid state. Why do you think your opinion is more valid in this front than all of these other people? Yes, that is an appeal to authority, because all debates, for dummies who don't know this, is about rationalizing logical fallacies. This is not fucking debate club where there's like actual rules that you have to follow. This is simply having a back and forth where you're owning and ritualistically humiliating your interlocutor. That's what debates are about.
We have a saying here. It's a blind chicken sometimes finds a corn too. That's what he is, you know. Sometimes he says some stuff and then I'm like, oh yeah, this was actually a good speech by Hassan. And then I remember he's Hassan. So. Account problems and trick you to call to clear it up. Oh, that's why I never call anyone. I would never fall for that. If it was a legit email, if legit Twitch TV, if the owner of Twitch TV, who owns Twitch TV? The bald one. If the bald one himself sent me a verified personal email being like, hey, there's something wrong with your account, please call this number to clear it up, I would not call. I would not call. I'm never falling for that stupid ass scam. Never in my life. I'm never calling. I would rather lose all of my accounts than do a phone call. Vatnik Soup. Oleg Besedin. Oh, who is that? Oh, nice. We got fancy Vatnik Soup. We got Estonian Vatnik Soup. He was doing marketing, including for the Russian state oil company Lukoil and Estonian parties, including the Kremlin-funded United People's Party, where he ran as a candidate. Express called him an Estonian Russian with a great future. Even if he arrived in a heli at Becky's doorstep, she ain't gonna call. Nope. And I'm mocking for being bold. Do you think you can like touch his head and go because I'm pretty sure you can. Besedin becomes known to the public with a 2010 Capo yearbook. It was written that he introduced himself as an ETV journalist in order to lure unsuspecting people in front of the camera. They could soon find themselves on Russian state television, with which the man has a long business relationship with. Uh-oh. Man, why didn't he like get some sort of punishment for that? That's falsely presenting yourself. That's illegal. Yeah, it's like you know when you wash the plates and then they're like really clean and then there's like thingy. It's like that. That's how bald people sound. You can see how Besedin and his related channels are being commissioned, and it's clear that money is being paid for this work. Ooh, a foreign agent. A foreign agent. Hey, yo, Froggy, how's life? A foreign agent. Besedin is always present with a camera at provocative pro-Russian protests, even when no other media covers them, and even bystanders are not visible. But he knows, and he reflects. Thank you, Besedin, for showing us the truth. He's also mentioned in the annual Capo yearbook, 2013 to 18 to 20. For example, when the Russian film crew was banned from entering here, Besedin did the trick. Oh. When Maxim Reva made a propaganda film raping Estonian history, Besedin shot the footage. You would think that this public information about the commissioned works from Russia would make him persona non grata. But Besedin's work and materials have been enthusiastically shared by all Russian language portals of Estonia mainstream channels. You have Russian language portals of your mainstream channels, you fucking losers. You fucking losers. A lot of Jews that settled in what is now Israel during 1948 actually bought the land they settled on. Oh. Imagine that way. there has to be some sort of documentation, right, to know who bought the land and who no and who has just kind of moved on when people who used to be living there previously were made to leave. Not that it would make too much of a difference, but still. Besedin received services not only from the Russian state, but also from Estonian taxpayers. Oh, Besedin has been a long-term business partner of the Tallinn city government. The last such announcement on the extension of cooperation was published on February 28, 2022. Oh, damn. No. Tallinn city government is on the side of the boy Mardu. Besedin TV channel broadcast news from Mardu and Idaviro. City of Mardu paid over 25,000 euros of taxpayers' money to Besedin's company last year. Bro! He's getting cash money from... His biggest secret weapon is his Facebook group, which has 58,800 followers. Great. What's wrong with Estonians? What is wrong with you people? His Facebook reach was the key to Kost's election success, 3% threshold. Besedin is the party's PR man and producer who uses his means to produce video materials and channels to distribute party propaganda. Well, I can imagine that. Wait, I clicked on the wrong one. Oh, here I am. His community groups on Facebook show how Besedin attracts people online with everyday and general information. This is why Estonian COVs and state institutions have also offered him legitimacy. This is also what you see. I don't know if you guys if you've taken a look at your local Vatnik supporters. If you find one of those fake news posting ones, you will often find them also posting just like random ass news. And then only one part of it is actually propaganda. I noticed this when I was checking out the Croatian ones, because we got some Croatian ones who are, it's not entirely fully pro-Russian propaganda, because some of them do have, it's like an interesting thing. I don't know if I want to say it's pro-NATO. I don't even know what it is. It's just they go very deep into hating everything that's like different from the West. Really, really weird. But what you see the accounts do is that they will not be posting this shit all the time. They will sometimes just post proper news. And this is how they get legitimacy. They post a proper piece of news, and then people looking for proper news see that and they follow them. And then every once in a while, it's like that website, Twitter account. Visegrad is like that. They post proper news, and then sometimes they do a little like drop of propaganda in it. Just like, what? And you don't notice it. You do not notice it because they don't do it all the time. They don't do it in all the posts. So because they don't do it all the time, they don't do it on all the posts, you see them as legitimate, right? So then when there's a little drop of propaganda, you're like, okay, maybe this is just like, maybe this hatred that I feel in my soul is just a normal reaction to proper news, to the proper view of the world, right? And you don't actually notice what they're doing to you. So, Russians live here, that is the problem. Okay, yeah, understandable. They live here for decades, but I don't know a single word of Estonian. Maybe they get deported soon. I've seen Latvia is planning to deport a bunch of them. I've seen Lithuania, of course, is being quite interesting when it comes to this. So I'm hoping Estonia starts following along, and also gets rid of them. Because come on, Estonia, come on. You can't. You're not a big enough country to be dealing with that. I've hoped that I would see something about planning to deport them, but no. Who did I see getting rid of a Russian? Oh, Bulgaria. Bulgaria has booted a Russian propagandist recently. Good news. Tito's actual propaganda. True. You gotta always spread propaganda against the Soviets, always, at every point of your existence. Have you taken a breath right now? Okay, did you use at least one fraction of it to hate on Soviets? No. It's a breath wasted. Most of the land was bought from landowners. Of the land that Jews bought, 52.6% were bought from non-Palestinian landowners, 24.6% from Palestinian landowners, 13.4% from government, churches and foreign companies, and 9.4% from farmers. %13% from government. Which government? People were evicted from their home and those were occupied. But who were these landlords? Wait, I'm pretty sure. Gotta look this up now. Would it not be the government of Mandatory Palestine? Like when they say the government, would not the British have something to do with it when it comes to the government? How strong were they in it? They were born here, they have Estonian passport, but they can't speak any Estonian. What can you do with them? Oh shit, yeah, they have a passport. Yeah. Russians that refuse to move back to Russia are the smart ones. So if you're going to deport them, send them to Belarus instead of something. I can agree with deporting them. Wherever they land is not really my problem, you know. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they're gonna end up in Belarus. Okay. I guess Belarus is an ally. I would actually, you know what I would support? I would support the idea of just like deporting them to any Russia-friendly country. You know, Hungary wants to be on the side with Russians. Okay, Hungary can get European Russians. You want to side with them? You get them. Serbia, same thing. Serbia is already bitching about the amount of Russians they're getting. I feel they should be getting more. I feel we should just do the refugee crisis on these two countries just with sending over very rich Russians from fancy-ass universities in the West. They can go to these shitholes and they can stay there. It's going to be suffering for Russians involved, it's going to be suffering for the countries involved, it's going to be bad for everyone. This is how we reach peace in the universe. What? Zaluzhny's assistant was killed by a grenade explosion at his home near Kiev? Aww. Oh shit. Huh. Assassination attempt. Kinda weird there being like difference of opinion on the course of the war. My dude. My dude, no, my dude. This is not Russia. No. No chance. Wait, I wanted to click on a link before we go. Oh, here it is. I wanted to click on a link here and I have to leave soon. By the way, guys, tomorrow stream is in the morning. Did you see? We're drinking coffee. Did you see? I think I posted it in Discord. Let me check. But today we're having stream in the afternoon. Then for 3 days we're having streams before noon. And then on Friday, let me open this. On Friday it's again afternoon. Here it is. Here's my little listy. Here's my listy list, okay? Here's my list. I made you a list. I'm planning at 9, possibly a bit earlier. Because I probably won't sleep for that long. But count 9 is the latest. 9 Croatian time. I don't know what that is in your time. It's 9:30 in the afternoon here right now. So I have just enough time to add more countries to my terrorism list before going to sleep, and to add some more good news, and then in the morning I can tell you all about it. Ha ha ha. And then go to work. Man. They weren't this brave when Belgrade was being bombed. I'm just saying. These weren't the songs they were singing then, you know what I mean? F-117, man, they did so much propaganda with that shit. Man, that was so funny. I love that little poster. Like the jokes and everything they wrote on it, I love them. Actually, I have to show you another song that I found. Ew. No one was invading Serbia, by the way, may I remind you. Yeah, we didn't know I was supposed to be invisible, yeah. One of them is, what does a child know about invisibility? I think that's my favorite one. Wait, let me find you the song. I have an Irish song about Palestine that I got in my recommended. I haven't listened to it. I saved it because I thought it might be interesting. But the joke is like, what does a child know? What it means to be invisible? And it's basically a play. We have one idiom here, which is, what does a child know? What 100 kilogram means? The child takes it and carries it away. Right? It's like you don't know. And the idea is that, oh, what does a child know what an invisible plane means? He just shoots at it. Belfast, they have posters and murals supporting PLO. Oh, nice! Since 70s, 60s? Oh, nice. Impressive. The Irish. The Scotcher. I haven't heard it before. I don't know if you did. It was really new for me. I know, right? Wait, Purgatory. Is my Discord loading? Okay. I mean, it's in Ireland. Which part of Ireland is not highly criminalized? Have you ever seen an Irish person? Like, this is what they look like. You surprised? You went into Ireland and it's just that on the street? Come on. You lived in Ireland, oh shit. Did they look like that? Man, it's such a cool language though. It's such a cool language. Some of them look like this. Do I know any more Irish people? I just know these two. I need to get more educated in Irish politicians. I just know the two clowns. Some other MEPs, but like these ones are the most important ones. Man, the language is so fucking cool. It sounds so good. They're saying it so well, and then the music. How beautiful a song. And then also it's like a solidarity song. Just makes it more wholesome. A great piece. Nobody is Irish as Barack Obama. But that's a work of art. Okay, talking about songs that touch your heart, that one does it. I remember that one being a meme on TikTok for a while. I thought some annoying YouTuber made it. No, it's an actual piece. It's an actual fucking piece. By the way, I'm leaving. I'm running. I have to go take a shower. I have to go to sleep. I have to write a little bit. And then I have to start a stream in the morning again. So we're going to end this one. Hope you learned something new. Hope you learned something new about Hassan, about Ben Shapiro. Hope you enjoyed listening to Irish songs, because Irish have sometimes created something good, apparently. I think that's about that. If you have any news, especially if you have some good news, share it with me in Discord, because I'm trying to collect weekly good news, just because I'm trying not to spiral into depression. Okay, so these are, I'm trying to collect good news for this week, so wish me luck on that. And yeah, you know, stay strong, stay well, drink enough water. I'll be seeing you morning tomorrow, so make your morning coffee. If it's not morning in your time zone, make morning coffee anyways, just as a sign of solidarity.